Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Harvey from the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre, and welcome to the first of 6 half-day online surgeries that we are running over the next few days. Can you just put a comment in the chat just to check that you can hear me okay and I'm coming across loud and clear? That's just the first thing. I'll just have a look and see. Brilliant. Thank you, Dan. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Paul. Brilliant. That's great. So welcome to this online session. Normally, at the end of January, we're looking forward to putting on our National Self-Build and Renovation Show, welcoming over 3,000 visitors over 3 days to the centre. Obviously, we're still in different times, lockdown 3. I've got a quick poll, which I'm just going to launch just to for you to have a look at. So we've got 125 people with us so far, which is a fantastic start. So welcome one and all. If you can just have a look at this poll, just so we can get a feel for who's in the room and who's joining us in this session. I'll give it a few more seconds just so I can see that we've had 100 people answer, thank you. And then I'll share that with everyone just so that you can get a feel for who's in the room. Whilst I'm doing this intro, Mike, if you're there, feel free to turn on your camera and unmute yourself.
Okay. I'm here.
Morning, Mike. I'll introduce you in just a second. Okay, that's great. So I'm just going to give it 3, 2, 1, and end that poll. Thank you, and then share the results. So there you go, Mike. There's a reflection of who's with us. So so a third of you have not been on one of our online sessions before. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. 20% of you have, and another 24% have been both online and to the centre, which is great. And another quarter of you have not been on an online session before, but have visited the centre. So quite an even split, actually. So brilliant. If that's still on your screen, just click on the cross in the top right-hand corner, and that'll get rid of that. So yes, we would normally be doing a January show now. For obvious reasons, we're unable to do that. So we thought we would put together a series of 6 half-day surgeries covering some of the key themes and topics that we get asked about a lot at the Self-Build Centre. So this morning's session is focusing on doors and windows, as you know. So I've seen a couple of questions come through. Yes, this session is being recorded. What will happen is at the end of the 3 days, so today, tomorrow, and Saturday, we will send those videos off to a colleague of ours who will just do a bit of editing, tidy them up, and we should have those files available to you by the middle of next week. So everyone who's registered for any of the sessions will get a copy of the recordings. Yeah, so hopefully middle, perhaps tail end of next week, you'll get a copy. So I'm going to go straight into the session. If you have any questions for any of the panelists, please use the Q&A button. It should be at the bottom of your screen, depending on how you're viewing this Zoom session. But use the Q&A button. We will do our best to answer the questions as we go. We are quite limited for time in these half-day sessions. But remember, today at 12:30, we've set aside the final half an hour for a Q&A discussion, which will be hosted by Mike, and we'll be joined by the other panelists that are presenting during the course of the morning. So I'm going to introduce you to Mike now, so Mike can get going. Mike is a long-standing friend of the centre, worked on our help desk for many years, wrote and presented many of our self-build courses for many years. And although I think it's fair to say you're kind of in semi-retirement, Mike, you still still work with us quite frequently. And Mike actually self-built his own home, which I believe he is sat in right now. So
yes,
brilliant, Mike. Because we're limited for time, I'm going to hand straight over to you.
Okay, thank you. I'll share this screen up, and once we've got the old on here. Hello everyone, hopefully you can hear me satisfactorily. Thank you, Harvey, for that introduction. As Harvey said, my name is Mike Hardwick. Delighted to be able to help out today with this online surgery. Delighted to see so many of you joining us today. We've got quite a range of speakers to fit you in, covering just about everything when it comes to doors and windows. What I'm going to do to start with, though, is spend about 25 minutes or so just running through some slides, talking about the basics of doors and windows and some of the things that you might need to consider when coming out and making what will be a significant purchase as part of your self-build. So, as I say, it's one of the most important decisions that you're going to make in terms of the actual cost and relative cost of the doors and windows in your self-build project. Windows and doors are going to be a significant chunk of it. We're talking at least in the tens of thousands, and in some cases, in some of the more extreme cases, you can get right into some quite amazing figures. So when you're spending that sort of money, you want to make sure that you do the right thing and you get the right doors and windows into your project. So it's one of the most important decisions you'll make. And what we're looking at is a balance, really, between aesthetics, what they look like, and the effect it's going to have on the curb appeal of your house, the performance in terms of U value, thermal performance, and energy efficiency, and also just in value. What are you getting for your money? And one of these things about windows is when you put them in, you're not going to be thinking, well, we got that wrong, let's take them out again and put some new ones in because of the investment that you've put in. So when you put windows in, you want to get it right first time and make sure that you've got, you put them in and they're going to be there for, I would hope, at least around 30 years before you even start needing to think about replacements, and hopefully longer than that, depending on the quality that you bought. So getting it right first time is important. We don't replace these things very often. Windows, I quite often refer to them as the eyes of the house. When you look at a house, one of the things that sticks out is the way the windows react with the rest of the house. How do they fit in with the environment? Do they look right in the setting that they're in? So they can have a huge impact on curb appeal, what your house actually looks like. And of course, that affects the overall value of your finished property. If you get the windows wrong and you put in something really cheap and nasty onto what otherwise is quite a nice house, it's going to be a big turn-off for anyone looking at your house with the intention of buying it, because they will think, we'll get rid of those and put some new windows in, which, as I say, is going to cost tens of thousands of pounds, and that comes off the asking price. So getting it right and investing in the best quality that you can actually afford with the budget that you've got. And I stress, with the budget that you've got. This doesn't mean go out and spend all of your budget on the best and finest windows that you've got and leave nothing else for the rest of the build. That's a disastrous route to take. But take a good percentage of your build costs and allocate them to the windows and get the very best that you can buy to put into your house, because it will pay dividends later on. If any of you are on the in the process of doing either a self-build or a renovation or a conversion, you're probably already looking at windows and doors and wondering where to start, because the choice that's out there is truly bewildering. There is an awful lot of choice out there, and it's very difficult to know whether you're making the right decision or not, to be honest. There's not a lot of wrong answers you can make on this. It's really a case of doing your research and finding what is right for you in your particular project. So the sort of windows that you're looking at, the basic windows, the sort that just open up from the side and with the top hanging windows, are known as casement windows. Casement windows are probably the most common sort of windows that you're going to find around. They can be anything from contemporary styles all the way through to those fitted with glazing bars to give that rustic cottage type feel. So there's a huge array of casement windows, probably the most common ones we're going to be talking about. Sash windows, big legacy from Victorian, even Georgian times, which is how original windows used to be, the slide-up windows. You see one there in that dormer on the bottom right photograph that I've got there. Those in the old days used to be single glazed. They leaked because there was huge air gaps around the place, and that's always been a bit of a problem for modern windows in that sort of format, because we don't want to have big leaks and gaps and single glazing. And fitting double glazed or triple glazed units into a sash window has historically been a bit of a problem, because it means putting very fat frames in and ruining the aesthetic of the sash window. It's very good to know, though, that a lot of companies have got hold of this, and even in modern materials now, they're getting the frames down to the sort of size where you can get some very attractive but very efficient sash windows, so you can keep that old look but still have the modern performance. When it comes to modern performance, the pivot windows, or tilt and turn windows as they're called, are very much de rigueur. They are good for a number of ways. They are excellent to fit, they last a long time, and they look good. And they're also very easy to clean, because the pivot means that you can open the window, pull a little pin out, and actually spin the whole thing around in its frame, which means that you can actually clean the outside of the glass as well as the inside of the glass of the frame and put it back again. Which means if you're on a 3rd story or higher than that, then you don't have that problem with cleaning the windows, of having to get a crane or somebody with a huge ladder to come and do your windows. Roof lights, hugely popular. There are a number of companies out there providing roof lights. The biggest of them is probably Velux, you will have heard of. In the picture there, you can see a roof light in there. That's a thing called a cabrio window, which sort of makes like it opens up to make a balcony as well as the roof light. Roof lights are fantastic for a number of reasons. Again, easy to fit, they look good, low profile in the roof, but what they do is allow so much more light into a room. If you've got a horizontal window, standard wall window, the light comes in straight lines, and that's the light that you get. When you've got a roof light, the light comes in straight lines, but it comes in from all sides, so the light floods in far more than you would get with a standard window. So really quite useful if you want to get a lot of light, so attic conversions and even extensions and cat slide extensions on the side of a lower story. Really good stuff. And the last thing I've got on there is bespoke glass. I'm not going to get into too much about this, but just to let you know that bespoke glass can be horrendously expensive. And the time you find bespoke glass is when you're doing the modern, what you refer to normally as eco houses, or anything that you see on these grand designs thing with large triangular expanses of glass. All of these things tend to be manufactured specifically for that project, and there we are talking sometimes into the hundreds of thousands of pounds for the glass that you need. All I'm going to say on bespoke glass is that unless your budget stands it, don't think about bespoke glass. Try and get something which comes out of a catalogue, which one of the major manufacturers is providing to a stock size that they know how to build and are tooled up to make, because the value for money that you'll get out of those windows is going to be so much better. You can spend an awful lot of money on bespoke. So the details of windows. Double glazing, building regulations tell you that you will have to have the double glazing as standard. Single glaze only really exists in heritage buildings and listed buildings where there is a conservation issue on that. So new windows at least have to have double glazing. Triple glazing is becoming more and more affordable now. You can see some of the triple glazed pictures that I've got here on the slide. It used to be the province of passive house and very high-end projects, but triple glazing is now coming much further down into affordability, and it's really now a serious option. A thing to remember about triple glazing is no, I'll move on to that later on. I've got it covered in a later piece of the slide. These triple glazed units or double glazed units are usually inert gas filled. That means there's argon or something like that to stop the heat transmission between the panes. And they're usually fitted with performance glass as well. You might have heard of stuff like Pilkington K glass. This is basically reflective glass, which allows the light to come through and the heat to come through the glass, but doesn't allow it to go back out again. It bounces it back into the room. And one thing about glass is that its U value is not particularly good, right? Even the best, highest quality glass is still going to be about 6 times worse than a single skin brick wall when it comes to sort of keeping heat in. So the more glass you've got, the more you want it to perform. U values have come down significantly, and the very best of the units that you're going to get now are probably down to 0.8, 0.7 U value, which is quite remarkable. Don't forget that this is a combination of not just the glass, but the frame as well. Okay, so the performance of the frame is crucially important to getting the performance that you're looking at. And this is why the high-end projects that you see, now you might be able to see in the picture bottom left on your screen there, the detailing that's going on in the framework. This is an aluminium and a plastic a UPVC composite, but you can see there's all sorts of breaks in there to stop heat from transmitting from the outside to the inside. And the more upmarket and the better quality that you're going to buy, the better that thermal performance is going to be and the better performance in your house. Soundproofing, I was going to mention this earlier. Triple glazing doesn't necessarily improve sound performance because of the difference, the spacing between the glass is really geared for thermal rather than acoustic performance. If you want to get soundproofing, then secondary glazing is probably the best thing if you're by a busy road. I'll just mention that. Security, an important thing with windows. It's now come under the building regulations. In recent years, it's now Part Q of the building regulations, which instead of having these flimsy plastic frames around your doors and windows, particularly patio doors, which ne'er-do-wells with a beefy screwdriver could just prise open and help themselves to your stuff, those days are gone. They now have to have much higher levels of security with chute bolts, deadlocks, and under what used to be known as the secure by design, which is now basically the format which is incorporated into Part Q of the building regulations. So look for Part Q certification on the windows that you're buying. All of the main manufacturers will be meeting that now. But there may still be some old stuff around the place which isn't. So make sure that what you've got complies with Part Q of the building regulations. You might have heard of Fencer as well as the Fenestration Self-Assessment Scheme. This is where window installers, instead of incorporating having to call out building control to come and oversee the fitment of windows because they are notifiable works, a Fencer qualified installer is allowed to self-certify. So they can provide the frames. They will have qualified installers who can put the frames in and sign them off and just let building control know that they've done the work and issue the certificate. And that's all you need to do. Don't forget though that on a new build that your inspector is going to want to see the windows installed for the first time. Okay, so it will be part of your completion certificate when you build a new house, but for a renovation or a replacement of existing windows, then Fencer installation will be sufficient. Ventilation is another issue, especially for those building to passive levels or to very high levels of air tightness, where you may not want to have ventilation, but the law at the moment says that you have to have trickle vents in your window. Some people hate the things, other people are quite happy with them. But the building regs say under Part H that you've got to have you've got to have ventilation fitted. So trickle vents will come as standard with most windows that you're going to buy. If you really don't want to have trickle vents in your windows, then you can get away with having mechanical ventilation and heat recovery into your build, and that can negate the need for trickle vents. But you can't have either. You can't have no trickle vents without that MHVR. Okay, what sort of materials are we looking at for our windows and doors? Well, the basic level would be PVC-U, unplasticized PVC. This used to be the regular plastic windows thing, the cheap and cheerful, slap them in, pile them high, sell them cheap. And there was you remember the old Everest double glazing and what have you. Things have moved on dramatically since the days when you can have any color you want so long as it's white. And PVC now has become a serious contender with options for self-builders. You can have all sorts of colors now, pretty much any color that you want. You can also have timber effects, which I think is fantastic. You've got to get up very close to some of these things to realize you're not looking at a natural timber product. So do look at PVC-U, because when it comes to value for money and aesthetics, you will get that fine balance between the two that people on a budget are looking for. So do look at PVC-U. It's a good option. Next up is softwood. Timber frame windows are typically made of softwood. They basically run the timber through machines which basically cut out all the knots and deformities in the wood, leaving nice clean strips of wood which are then scarfed together, to sort of glued together to make single bars of wood, which are then cut up and made into the wooden frame. These are usually treated and at least with one coat of stain when they are delivered onto your site. I would suggest, if you get the option, to go for the fully painted finished option, because they can do it so much neater in the factory than they will do if it's going to be on site. So sometimes it's worth the additional money just to get them painted and stained, and indeed glazed. If you just buy the basic frames on their own, they will probably be quite cheap actually if you go and buy those. And you might think you're saving yourself an awful lot of money, but by the time you've got the glazing, had it all fitted, and have it all painted and stained up, then the price could be even more than it costs to get the completed item. So painted and stained good softwood windows are a great all-round value for money aesthetic and performance level to go for. You still find hardwood windows out there. It sounds like it might be better than softwood, but hardwood like oak and what have you will look fantastic when it goes in, but it will start fading. It will silver, and eventually you can get the tannins coming out of the wood, and it can actually look quite scruffy after a while. And you've got to end up doing all sorts of staining and painting and prepping to keep the things going. It's far more maintenance in some ways than softwood. So although it sounds like it's a more premium product, I would suggest go for the softwood rather than the hardwood. to get that effect. Aluminium, hugely popular these days. Again, aluminium is not a great insulator, as you'd expect. It conducts heat quite readily. But by building the thermal breaks in the framework of aluminium windows, the performance is getting that much better these days. So the other big advantage of aluminium is because it's strong and lightweight, you can actually build very thin frames around your glazing units, which means if you've got big expanses of glass, like sliding doors and what have you, where you're trying to maximize the amount of light coming into your property, aluminium frames are fantastic because you will get this minimum edge and maximum glass to allow the light to come in. One of my favorites is composite windows. You can see the bottom two pictures that I've got here on the slide. This is two sides of the same window. And on the outside, you've got a grey painted aluminium finish. You can have any color you want, basically. If it's in the RAL scale, you can have any color you want on the outside. So you've got hard wearing, easy to clean, easy, low maintenance, long lasting aluminium on the outside. But on the inside of the window, you can see in that right-hand picture, the thing's finished off with natural timber inside. So you get that lovely wooden effect. And because it's not exposed to the elements indoors, it will last forever in that situation. So it's aluminium on the outside, wood on the inside. So you've got the aesthetics on the outside, aesthetics on the inside, hard wearing, and they are superb. Again, you could expect to pay a premium for these windows because, of course, they're going to be more complex to make and there's more materials in there. But if you want something that is really going to give you the wow factor with your self-build, then do look at composite windows because they really do perform well. The last one I've got on there is steel. Steel sort of went out of fashion a long time ago, but the company that you most associate with with steel windows is Crittall, and they're still going. They're going strong. And up on the top there, you can see some of their fantastic contemporary steel frames that are being incorporated more and more into modern self-built houses. So steel is still an option as well. Okay, let's look at external doors. Again, this is it's one of the things that sets the tone of your house, because as your friends or relatives are walking up the drive of your house, this is how one of the things they're going to be judging your house by, because the front door gives a statement about what sort of house you've got. Is it a contemporary house? Is it a old rustic style you're trying to get? Is it a modern eco vibe that you're trying to put across? So this is where you can make that statement with a good front door. Again, this part Q on the security is important. You've got to make sure that you got that in place. Again, all the major manufacturers now will be providing part Q levels of security as part of their doors on that. Aesthetics, yeah, that's what I say. It's been shown a picture there, a bright orange front door. Not for everyone, but if you're in a the sort of place where you're trying to give that sort of funky vibe of contemporary look, then why not? You can really do what you want on that. It really does set your own personality and your tone onto the house. Value as well. I mean, you can go anywhere on external doors, all the way from cheap as chips out of B&Q, which will be functional and practical, and it will lock and it'll have the security and will work, but it's not going to set the world on fire. You can go all the way through to the main manufacturers and come up with all sorts of wonderful solid and engineered wood doors, which can be fantastic, including pivoting doors as well. So not hung on hinges, but with a bar through the middle, so the door basically pivots around a central spigot, which can look very, very good indeed. It does set the quality of the house. French windows and bifolds and sliding doors, again, coming hugely up in popularity. This idea of trying to bring in the garden into the inside of the house by having the maximum amount of glazing that you could possibly have. And on those rare days where we do get good levels of sunshine, I mean, last year was a case in point, wasn't it, when we're all locked in? If you were lucky enough to have a garden and bifolding doors, then in that wonderful summer we had, open these things up and you've just got almost a holiday feel to your house. Bifolds, hugely popular. Remember, when you put bifolds in, that you've got to support the upper levels of the house on this. So these have to be designed into the house from the outset. So if you want them, design them in and make sure your architect and designer is aware that you're want to put these in, so that they can put in the sort of the lintels and the bracing, and in some cases cantilevers to support the upper level of the house. One thing about bifold doors is that although they are wonderful in that they can fold into themselves and concertina into a very small area, because of the nature that you've got to hold that glass in and move it all around on rails, you end up with quite a lot of framework around the doors on there. And you can see on that top picture there's quite a lot of wood going on. If you compare and contrast with the sliding doors at the bottom there, you'll see that's almost all glazing. And it shows what I was saying about having aluminium frames on your on the glass. That's got a really good contemporary look, and the amount of light is probably going to be, I don't know, probably 25–30% more than maybe 50% more than the bifolds at the top. So sliding doors can, although you can't compact them away quite as tightly as bifold doors, you'll get far more light coming through, which is pretty good for getting that atmosphere of light, airy, contemporary feel. And finally, I've put garage doors there. I do know that we've actually got a speaker from Chamberlain Garage Doors later on, so I'm not going to steal his thunder by saying that. But garage doors, again, like front doors, become a big percentage of the frontal of the house. If you've got a big double garage, which is exposed to the front aspect of the house, then of course the garage doors are going to be a huge part of the aesthetic appeal and the curb appeal of the house. So getting this right with good quality garage doors is very important. Secondary consideration is the actual mechanics of it. Up and over doors, roller doors, again, bifold doors, the classic hinge doors. The choice is endless on there, but I'll leave that to Chamberlain to speak about the options out there and what you can have. But again, it's worth spending the money on getting that right because it does have such an effect on the aesthetics. When it comes to internal doors, again, you can buy anything from a sub £50 Sapelli door from B&Q, which will meet the requirements. You know, it'll fill the hole and have a handle and close things off. And if you are building to an extreme budget, that's probably what you would you might opt for, because it's the cheapest thing you can put in, the most bang for your buck, if you like. But most people, when they're building their own home, want to have something more than that, because doors internally, again, set the tone of the internal flow of the house. And getting it right by having some decent wooden doors, maybe the practicality of having borrowed light, in other words, having glass panels within the door, especially downstairs, where you can still close off one area of the house from another, but you can steal light from the external windows to illuminate things like hallways, which aren't necessarily the brightest of places. If you want to separate rooms between, without having the classic French window sort of things, the double doors, pocket doors are very popular. And again, this is not something you're going to put in after the effect. You need to be speaking with your designer and your architect to make sure that you are designing in the pockets that doors can slide into and just hide away invisibly, which gives you that wonderful practicality of having either a big open plan space, or when needs must, you can actually close it off and have smaller rooms divided by these pocket doors. It's a great idea for giving you multiple choices when it comes to dividing up the space in your house. The last thing I've got to mention on there is fire doors. This might conjure up great images in your head of when you were at school with those huge, great clunky doors with the wire-filled glass, and think, I don't really want any of those in my house, thank you very much. But sometimes you will be required to fit fire doors into your property. Examples I can think of is when you've got a door between your kitchen and an external garage. That has to be 30 minutes fireproof. And if you are going to a third story or a basement and you have got a fire corridor going up to the main egress of the house, the front door basically, all doors coming off that fire corridor have to be 30-minute fire doors. But you can have some of the doors in that picture, for example, any one of those doors there could be a fire door. It's just a case of how it's manufactured, and around the edge of the door, the actual rim of the door, there would be what they call an intumescent strip. This will be a strip which reacts to heat and expands basically the minute it starts getting hot, and seals the gap around the door, which stops any smoke or fumes from coming out, which means that if you're on the other side of a door when a fire breaks out, you can close it and get out, and it will hold fire and fumes back until the fire brigade can get there and sort everything out. So fire doors don't have to look ugly. They can be just as good looking as any other doors that you have in your property. So last slide, a couple of minutes, how to decide what to buy. I mean, how do you actually go and make this choice when there's so much out there? Well, I'd say it's up to you to work out what your budget is and how much of that you can afford to spend on your doors and your windows, because that's going to dictate an awful lot. Please do not just go out and buy the composite windows when you're on the lowest possible budget, because something else is going to have to give. And the danger is that you run out of money halfway through the build. And anyone who's heard me speak on this subject before will tell you that is not a good thing to do, and it's what you're trying to avoid. So it's this balance between budget, value for money, and the build quality. The reputation of a company is good. I mean, there's a number of companies out there. You're going to be, some of the people speaking later on are the sort of people I'm talking about, the Belfax and the Norskeds of this world, who I've got the reputation for building superb quality windows, and they ain't going to let you down. So targeting people who are with that reputation is a good place to start. Location as well is going to have an impact on what you're doing. If you are on a west-facing coast, say Cornwall or the islands, or where you've got Atlantic gales coming in, putting in standard UPVC windows or softwood windows is not going to be a good idea, because they are not going to last the torrent of weather that hits you. I mean, things like those composite windows, the aluminium frames on there, which can be wiped down and cleaned, get the salt water and all the rest off there. That's worth actually investing in to get the right quality of window on there if you're in an exposed area. And I'm attached to a couple of social media groups for self-build, Facebook and the rest, and there's always conversations going on there about who's had what experience with which window provider, door provider as well. So they're a great source of finding people who found little nuggets out there and are very pleased with the progress they got. So get yourself on those social media groups and ask friends and relatives who've recently done replacement windows, whatever, and see what they used. So for inspiration, of course, you've got the NSBRC. The photographs that I've been showing you are almost exclusively out from the stands within the centre. If you haven't been there before, down by junction 16 of the M4, get yourself down there and spend a day looking around, because the choice and the range and the way it's presented is absolutely superb, and you'll find the very best products that you can find down there, and some expert help to help describe what you're looking at and what's going to be right for you. So the self-build shows and the self-build press do the same sort of thing, but the self-build centre, it's the place where you can go and get your hands on it any time of the year and go and have a look. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is a canter through windows and doors. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to hand you back over to Harvey, and I think he's going to introduce the next speaker for you.
Thank you, Mike. Mike, have you got time? You finished exactly on time. Can I just ask you two quick questions? We've had lots of questions coming through. So we won't get through all the questions after each presenter, but we have got the half an hour set aside at the end of the session. But just okay. Jill's asked, so the question from Jill: are there standard window sizes that people should be thinking about, perhaps when they're designing a self-build?
Yeah, good question, Jill. The companies know this. So when they are building the standard sizes for windows, they are going to be the most popular sizes to meet the UK market. So their catalogue is going to have quite a range from small to large, to bay windows, to all sorts, as to what will meet your requirements on there. Really, it's down to the aesthetics of the house. Your architect will be aware of things like golden ratios, this 1 to 1.6, that the Georgians used to get the scaling right on windows and doors. But it's going to be down to the skill of your designer to come up in a house and work out the ratio of windows to wall and the size that it should be. And they should be making those to the stock sizes. They've all got books which show the manufactured size of windows, be it 800 millimeters by 1.2 meters or whatever, and they should be designing to those stock sizes. So you can go to any of these companies and say, this is the size of window I want, make something that fits that bill, please.
Great, thanks, Mike. Just very quickly, one final question from Peter. Peter's asking, what percentage of the overall build budget should you be looking to spend on doors and windows?
Yeah, so that's a good question on there. I'm going to wrap my brains now. I used to have a slide up on the self-build course here which said exactly that, and I've not got it in front of me. But it's sort of I would say around about 12 to 15% was the sort of figure that I seem to recall on doors and windows. It could be anything in that sort of figure. But the figures range, I can't stress enough, the range of prices that you will get depending on what you're trying to achieve on there. So while you can set yourself a budget figure, well, certainly if you go the wrong way around, as I say, which is to choose, I want those windows there, and it's the bespoke glass stuff, and then have the horrible shock of finding out that you can't afford to buy those windows within your own budget. There you go. So I would be looking at that sort of 10 to 15% sort of level for glazing. I think is probably a reasonable starting point on that. But ultimately, it's what you can afford to do within the overall scope.
Great, excellent, Mike. Thank you so much for your time. Apologies we can't get through more questions, but it's important we stick to time. So we will see you again at 12:30. And Alex, I can see you're there from Norskin. So Alex, if I can ask you for you, let's see if we can open the video in seconds. Yeah, Alex, if you can turn your video on, that's brilliant.
And Harvey is saying that the video, we can't turn the video on because the host has stopped it.
Right, let's make you a co-host, just 1 second. Right, you should be able to appear now, Alex.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Good.
We can see your screen. Okay? Yeah. Are you? Are we going to be able to see you, Alex, as well?
Oh, yeah. 2 seconds.
Start your video next to your audio, just so we can see you. If not, Alex, we can see your slides absolutely fine. So if that works for you, you can narrate us through the slides. That's fine.
Forward, haven't we? Can we get that? No, we can't seem to get ourselves on the screen, I'm afraid.
Okay, well, that's fine. We can see your slides absolutely fine, Alex. So if you want to narrate them through it, that's fine. So you happy if I hand it over to you now?
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, Alex, over to you.
So we are two mysterious people. You already heard Alex's name being used. My name's David. I work in client services. Alex is a director of Norskin. And what he wanted to do is share with you our experiences over a decade of how projects sometimes can fall foul of fairly common pitfalls and what you can do to make your project more successful. So you can see from the picture before you, this is an exciting day. This is when your windows and doors arrive on that large HIAB. You know they're going to look great and they're going to complement the new house that you've built. At this stage, you might have taken 6, 12 or 18 months to get to this point, navigating all of the planning, design and project wrangles. But you're feeling confident. Why? Well, although windows and doors are a significant part of your home, you're confident because you've missed the big pitfalls. You've done your homework. Here at Norskin, we've seen all of the common mistakes and worked hard to resolve them.
So what are the big pitfalls? Well, we came up with a list of things that we've seen over the years on the various projects. First one there, working with unrealistic budgets. Getting the look and performance that you're after at a price you realistically can afford. Building control. Who's holding the ball here? You, the client, the window supplier, the architect, the builder? Ordering timescales. When is the right time to make contact with suppliers? Visualizing the living space. Have I actually thought how I'm going to live in this space? Mistaken brand confidence. Does the glossy brochure and website really mean that I'm going to get the right product and service that I'd hoped for? Poor thermal performance. Will my new home, extension or refurbishment deliver a comfortable living space? The right input in the project. Who should I listen to? And more importantly, whose input is the most valuable? And finally, customer service. What does it actually mean in reality? So we're going to start off with budget. There are some important questions to consider when choosing your windows and doors. Often ask clients on a showroom visit, is this your dream home you're doing, or is this a project that you're going to sell on in a few years with profits in mind? If it's a dream home, then choosing what you actually want is clearly no bad thing. Choosing that style or finish that you really love, having the door that works best in any given room, or getting the window size correct to allow more light in. But these decisions, if you wanted to design, build, and sell for profit, even if you intend to live there for a few years to start with, could seriously eat into your profit margins. Don't over-personalize it if it's a commercial decision, but really think about living in your home and the look and feel if it is in fact going to be yours for the foreseeable future. Separating those two routes and knowing which one you're on is key to getting your window budget right and knowing it from the start. Even if you're building a dream home, there's a need for caution. We sell some very nice windows with very high performance, but time and time again, we see clients coming to us, picking the best windows that we sell to be fitted into poorly built and thermally inefficient walls. Your budget needs to be spent sensibly on all elements of the envelope of the building so that it all works together. Budget is so important. So how can window companies help? Well, we wanted to give you a practical example of how one of our clients was able to make a sensible change in their budget by following a simple value engineering process. Here we have a very nice barn conversion with a large expanse of glazing on the first floor going right up into the eaves. As I say in building, anything with angles or curves costs more, but of course a glazed gable can also look very impressive both internally and externally. However, budget on this project was a real concern. Now the first floor already had a considerable 8-metre span at finished floor level, which we've highlighted here in blue. At 2.5 metres tall, this window and door arrangement alone was big enough to let a huge amount of light into the room, allowing for unrestricted views of the countryside. We queried the purpose of the full height gable glazing in a bedroom that would only be used for maybe 8 hours a day, and even then, mostly in the dark and ironically with your eyes closed. Clearly it looked superb, but what purpose did it serve? The customer's response, well, it's what the architect has drawn. So we asked if we could reprice it without the top screen shown here in red, to consider the budget. Removing that highlighted red area freed up approximately £7,000 of product and installation. No high gable meant no crane required, no oversized steel to support its weight above the doors below, and a reduction in the installation budget resulting in that £7,000 saving to spend on something else on the project. Clearly, we as the supplier ended up making less on the project by having it removed, but coming in on budget was a big deal for the client and hence a big deal for us. The end result still ticked all of the boxes. It might not have looked quite as impressive, but it still looked great and it was worth challenging the initial design, which the architect agreed with and redrew the design as seen here in the before and after image. Budget is so important. Everyone has one and we've never yet met a client with unlimited funds on a project. So really thinking about what's important to you and what actually isn't that important to you in the grand scheme can make a huge difference, especially if both sides are aiming for the same target.
So one of the challenges that you'll have, as has already been mentioned with Mike, is getting it right with building control. Insufficient ventilation is a building problem. And if you're not having mechanical ventilation, heat recovery or MVHR, you will, as mentioned, need trickle vents or an alternative. Now, some window systems can't have trickle vents in fixed units, so that can be a challenge. Sometimes you can spoil the lovely internal aesthetic if you have unmatched vents. So for example, as you saw earlier in previous slides, beautiful timber internal finishes with plastic, slightly gaudy vents on the inside will spoil the look and feel, especially, in my opinion, on bifolds and doors, etc. So you'll want to have a clear view of where you're getting your ventilation from if you're not having MVHR. Even then, whilst we think MVHR is fantastic, there'll be those days where you'll want to throw the windows open, not only for air purging, as they call it, but just to hear the birds song. Now, again, on ventilation, some building control officers will accept a night vent catch as giving ventilation, others won't. So if your building officer expresses an opinion, make sure that you get it in writing so that you're protected. As has already been mentioned, means of escape is important. Trying to get out of your bedroom window in an event. Now, this is in essence down to your architect to get right, but a good company that you're working with will help check and double check, because often you'll make changes to your design and how your openers work, and making sure you have that mandatory 450mm clearance in any direction is a requirement. I try and imagine 450mm gym ball, and can I push it out through that window? Now, another important aspect of meeting building control regulations is actually the glass package or specification itself. If you have on your first floor anything below 800mm, you can save money by moving your windows up a few inches so that you don't have to toughen them against fall risk. Elsewhere, you'll need to have lamination in order to improve security. Now, this does have an impact on triple glazing packages. Some of our colleagues in the industry still retain an untoughened central pane of standard float glass 4mm. And yet, if you're having toughened glass and laminated glass, there can be a thermal stress on that middle pane. So it's better practice to toughen this pane as well, we would suggest. Mike's already mentioned meeting the security standards of Part Q of building regulations. But something else to bear in mind is if you're on a plot that is quite tight and maybe you're adjacent to other dwellings, sometimes building control will require fire-rated windows, and this can be really expensive. So check that out in advance.
Timescales are really, really important, and possibly the biggest area where it can go wrong. Delays on site cost money. Getting products on site at the correct time takes planning, and planning takes time. We regularly see clients ringing us up 8 weeks before they need windows. By this point, you're really up against it. Everyone is chasing you or us. There's 6 emails a day going back and forth. Key specification details are being rushed. Everyone is getting stressed. Our best projects are when clients start early and allow us input into their design. For example, the large lift and slide triple glazed door opening is drawn by the architect at 6 meters. Our maximum product size in that spec is 5.9 meters. No problem, the architect reduces the opening by 100mm and everything stays on track. Ringing us up 8 weeks before you need the door, when the opening is already formed, means an unsightly and more costly solution. Yes, we can have frame packers on the side, but allowing us time to get this right for you achieves much better results all round. If that conversation happens in the design phase, then instead of it being a problem, it's a mere technicality. So some key things to check with any supplier. Check how long it will take to get all of the production details correct. We estimate typically 4 weeks is realistic. It sounds like a long time, but it's nothing when you consider steel beam details, deflection details, joining multiple units together, disabled access details, fire escapes. Don't just ask for a lead time, ask for a production time. A lead time can be quite vague, but a production time is how long it takes to physically make your products. Being clear on all of the different phases of ordering and manufacturing gives a clear timeline to work towards. Then how long does it take to ship from the factory? And once it's into the UK, how long will it take to get to site? Factor all of these elements in, and you could easily have 12 to 14 weeks in total. However, it will all fit and it will all work on site, but that's because it's been well planned. So take the pressure off and get in contact with your potential suppliers in plenty of time.
So this is a real challenge. You've got your 3D renderings from your architect, but still imagining the home can be difficult, especially to equip you to be able to make some of the big decisions. So we've put some fairly random questions up here that you might want to consider. So for example, you've got guests coming round to visit for the evening. You make your way through the glorious lift and slides or bifold or French doors. How easy is that transition from where the food is, the drinks are, to take them outside and so forth? Another big question, where are the views? Where are you going to sit and enjoy those spectacular vistas that convinced you to buy the plot in the first place? And how can you get the best out of them? A small detail is to see if your doors are wide enough to be able to bring shopping and pushchairs through and the like. So typically a door might be around 900mm wide. It doesn't cost that much more to go to a metre or even greater. And as Mike said earlier, they are a statement of the home. So we would suggest wider doors. Now, also for us to be able to understand what we need in our new home, just consider how many windows in your current dwelling you don't actually open. I would wager about half. So try and carry that thinking into the design of your new home. And then think, where's my TV going to go? What about wall curtains, blinds? And that day when Pickfords arrive outside with maybe statement sofas like we see in our picture, where are they going to go? And if they're in front of openers, because we didn't think of our furniture as well as the design, then that can be a bit of a challenge. Another challenge you might have is effectively being missold through brand confidence. Some organisations will have compelling brochures, great websites, and that can create a misplaced expectation. Some of these manufacturers will have a window profile that they also use for their doors. However, in our view, doors are very different. As you can see from our slide here, they're tactile things. It's about the touch and feel of them. They can be hefty. Alex was alluding to that nearly 6 metre two-part lift and slide, and one of those leads can be about 200 kg. So what we're suggesting is that you don't buy for the now, but buy for the future. Now, you're fortunate enough with my camera off that you can't see me, but typically I am a mammal, which stands for, as you may know, a middle-aged man in Lycra. And often on my bike or jogging around the golf course, I could try and keep myself reasonably fit. But just imagine one morning I fall over, putting my socks on and injure my arm. How easy will it be for me in 5 years' time to be able to maneuver that door? What is the operational ease? Because that will also have an impact on the durability and the lifespan of the doors. So whilst skinny frames can look aesthetically pleasing, with all that weight, it can be like an elephant in stilettos, putting pressure on those small wheels. So try the doors, see what they're like. When you go to a showroom, ask, how does this scale to what I'm actually going to be buying? And of course, ask yourself, what are the U values?
So we live in a very mild climate here in the UK, and it can be very varied compared to some other countries. We can easily experience temperatures down to -10 degrees in the south of the UK. But don't be fooled by current building standards and practices. Times are changing for all of us, and energy efficiency is the biggest challenge now for our planet. Who would have thought just 5 years ago that the wealthiest person on the planet would be making his money producing battery-powered cars? Government plans, and hence the standards across the board, are changing fast, and making the correct decisions now does matter. The Future Home Standard will require new build homes to be future-proofed with low carbon heating and world-leading levels of energy efficiency, and will come in 2025. And the slide there has that phrase taken straight from the government's website. Decisions on aesthetics really affect the budget. Large energy cost increases have really compelled people to try and find ways of reducing bills. The choice is simple: pay extra, be cold, or improve your insulation performance. This slide is called compromising thermal performance, but the reality is that the approach will most likely be uncompromising. New standards will have to be met. So how is this a potential pitfall for you as a consumer? Well, there are suppliers out there offering a range of products that will meet the current standards. But there's a growing list of companies and innovators who are going beyond the current to meet the future standard. You'll want windows that look nice, that are affordable. Triple glazing will probably have to be part of that solution for the UK market. And the home that you're going to build will need to perform and deliver for the next 50 years. So the future standards is a sensible pitfall to avoid, to build for the future. Every year, around 40% of our clients are already taking this step and building passive houses or near passive houses and homes that have been designed to go beyond the normal, because it really does make a difference and it really does matter.
So who's going to give you the right input into your project? So firstly, let's consider the architect and his value. Remembering he's got an emotional investment in this. It's his design, he's proud of it, it's another notch on his design belt. So whilst he may be very skilled at the design element, does he understand what your building objectives are for this project? That yes, you want to go near passive, but you don't want the sedum roof. Additionally, he might be really skilled at getting you through those key stages which are vital to getting you through planning and making the whole project viable. But does he understand your personal build objectives? Another important player in your project will be the structural engineer. Often a very practical person, but do they work quickly or does it take an age to get a reply? And what about your builder? You'll be working very closely with this person on a daily basis. Currently, everyone in construction is really busy, but you have to be careful about your selection. Can you, as Mike said earlier, trust someone to make a recommendation on their personal experience? And even then, have they had something built similar to your project that you can actually see? Make sure you speak to your builder's references. And if he was the cheapest to respond to your tender, ask yourself why. Have you kept an overrun contingency in your fund? Making sure a builder's cooperative is really important. On one project we had a number of years ago, the main builder wasn't even happy to get out of his cabin to remove some scaffold poles that were obstructing all the apertures for our windows and doors to go into. What's that got to do with me? It's not my problem, it's yours. So how can we get the builder on side? Well, again, early communication, as Alex said earlier, working with them to help establish finished floor levels, sill reveals, all of this kind of detailing helps to win cooperation. But we think this is an important point. Retain control. Letting your builder make key decisions when you're going to live there? No. Make it your choices for your home. Let the builders inform, but you decide. And then what about the window company that you're going to be working with? Again, as we've said, get in touch with them early. Whilst you might ask for a specification and a quote against your drawing, ask for more than that. Ask for them to be consultative. What would they suggest? What would be their recommendations? What do they think? Is it bifolds here, lift and slides? Or would French doors work well in this particular place? Ask them for their experience to come to bear. Get them involved. And by doing so, you'll learn what sort of company they are and how helpful they're going to be in going the nth mile to get your project absolutely right.
So normally people choose windows and doors on quality, design, price. Is there an assumption that with any big vendor, you're just going to get good after sales and good customer service care? However, customer service starts at the inception of a project. It's not unusual for us to be involved with a client for anything from 12 to 18 months on a project. the initial contact at a trade show or via a phone conversation or email, the quoting stage, the ordering stage, surveying, the manufacturing, delivery, installation, and then after sales. All of this requires good customer service to run smoothly. And why should you care? Well, there will be minor things that will have to be sorted during your project. This time of year, we're seeing buildings that were built in the summertime drying and settling, and the door that worked perfectly in the summertime now needs some adjustment. And this could be a simple thing. In fact, some companies think it's so simple, they'll send you a set of instructions out and ask you to do it yourself, or even worse, charge for an engineer to come out. They may even challenge that you haven't completed sufficient maintenance, and that may even be legitimate. But customer service and customer care is not a buzzword or phrase to help win a sale. It should be a mindset within a company, and it costs companies money to carry out. So when choosing products, there's often a reason why paying more gets you more. As discussed, budgets are critical, but avoid that pitfall that the lowest price is the best one. Work with people who love projects, who relish detail and enjoy best working practices, and who are good communicators who really care about the end result.
So thank you very much for your time today, and we appreciate you coming aboard. We just want to mention at the outset, we've talked about maybe some of the pitfalls and challenges that people face, but actually Norscan has lots of very happy clients who've really enjoyed their projects. So we're going to conclude our presentation there and see if we can get our camera on. So bear with us just a moment while we try and navigate the technicalities.
Right, let's see if you can hear at the end of your presentation. Ah, there you are. So,
it wasn't pre-recorded, Harvey. We actually did it.
You were there. So thanks, David. Thanks, Alex. That was great. So again, just got a couple of minutes for some questions. Thank you very much for that. That was a very interesting take on it. One question that's come through is very pertinent at the moment. Is as you as a supplier, are you finding that Brexit and the implications of importing products from Brexit's having any effect on you at the moment?
Ironically, no. In fact, our shipments from the factories normally leave on a Friday, and we receive them on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And our first delivery of the year arrived on a Monday evening, which we were staggered by. And having spent the last 18 months preparing for what could go wrong, initially, from a delivery point of view, we're not seeing any problems. Now, typically, the large companies will use hauliers that are quite well organised and will be getting their paperwork right. So it seems that that's being done, and fingers crossed that will continue to work okay for us from a shipping point of view. We've had challenges obviously this year with COVID at the factories, but that's an unrelated thing to Brexit. But all of these things are affecting lead times at the moment.
Great, thank you very much. And I know you touched on this. This is a question that actually came through during Mike's presentation, but I think it might be relevant for you guys. So the question is basically, what are the pros and cons of triple glazed versus double glazed windows? What are the key things, again, I know you touched on this in your presentation, that people should be really ensuring they're thinking about?
That's a very good question. We have an answer on our website, and it's interesting, when we're at the NSBRC, people come up to us having been fed conflicting opinions that there's not much difference. In broad principle, to answer succinctly, there's generally a 10% difference in price, but anything between a 40 and 50% difference in performance, sometimes greater. So the difference between a value of 1.2 on our double glazed windows can be down to 0.7 or so with a triple glazed. So significantly better performance and around 10% cost.
And can I just add to that, Harvey? It all depends on the starting point of where you're coming from. One of the slides which we had to remove from this presentation because we didn't have enough time showed a simple thermal modelling between our double glazed window and our triple glazed window. And the improvement in performance was only about 20%. But of course, you're already starting with a double glazed window that's pretty well insulated. If you take current windows and compare them to single glazing or very old double glazing, as David said, the difference can be 50, 60% improvement on performance. So if you're renovating, yeah, definitely it makes a huge difference.
Right. Well, it was great that we actually got to see you both at the end of your presentation. It didn't affect the presentation at all. It was really well done. So thank you. And we shall see you both at 12:30 again for the Q&A session. So thank you, chaps, for your time. I'm going to ask you to switch your camera back off again just for the moment and introduce Amy Cole from the Roof Light Company. So Amy, I can see you're there. So if you can do yourself. Hello. How are you, Amy?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. So, Amy, you're from the Roof Light Company. So if I can ask you to share your screen,
Yeah.
and then I will disappear once we're happy that we can see your presentation. It is a bit of a rapid fire session, this 3-hour window. So we'll go straight into you, if that's okay. So again, if you have any questions for Amy, just use the Q&A button. We will try and ask a couple of questions at the end of her talk, but Amy, you're going to be with us for the Q&A at 12:30 as well, I understand.
Yes, so I will. Okay.
That's brilliant, Amy. Right, well, I should disappear and enjoy the next half an hour. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As Harvey said, I'm Amy. I'm here today from the Roof Light Company. We were founded by an architect called Peter King in 1993. He designed the original conservation roof light, and he's now returned to architecture, but he's still involved in the design of the range. Since then, we've expanded our pitched roof light range with the contemporary Neo, flat roof lights, and a bespoke design service for tailor-made roof lights. We became an employee-owned company in March 2019, much the same as the NSBRC. And this aids us in maintaining our 3 guiding principles, being values-led, innovation, and a long-term sustainability focus. I'll show you some scenarios where roof lights have been required and the design outcome that we achieved to meet that brief. Please do note down any questions you have. There'll be an opportunity for them at the end. I'll start with the importance of roof lights. Pitched roof lights provide twice as much light than a vertical window, and a flat roof light up to 3 times as much. Roof lights awaken your rooms, can reduce your energy bills and carbon emissions, and can improve your concentration and general well-being. Flooding a space with natural light makes it look larger than it actually is. Vertical windows tend to bring light to one side of a room, whereas top lighting brings light evenly across the whole space. Ventilated top lighting can help to expel stale air and any cooking smoke. Scientific studies have proven natural light has a positive effect on mental and physical health. It helps our circadian rhythm, which controls sleep and energy, and office workers who have natural light in their workspace have been proven to have improved moods and got 46 minutes more sleep than workers without natural light. As well as the functional benefits, roof lights add beauty to designs by enhancing natural light. From loft conversions, kitchen redesigns, or complete renovations, the right roof light can make a striking difference to the design. This is a real-life simulation to show where light and shadows will fall. The bank of roof lights to the left has been purposely placed so that morning light will play off the side wall interiors. One roof light also has a motor to provide ventilation. The central roof light is over a lounge area and acts as an inverted sundial, with the sun moving around the lounge as the day progresses, indicating the passing of time. Most buildings requiring a pitched roof light can be categorised as needing a conservation roof light or a contemporary roof light. Conservation roof lights can be found on many Grade 1 and Grade 2 listed buildings in the UK. They're used by English Heritage and National Trust buildings, including in their own offices. After a lot of research, we have compiled a list of what makes a conservation roof light. We've listened to the experts in the field of conservation, including conservation officers and planning officers, and some of their responses are that they look for a roof light that is top hung, has a flush finish, has glazing bars and fine lines in a variety of sizes with specialist ironmongery and a single glazed appearance. Not all conservation roof lights are the same. A conservation roof light should have the fine frames and sit completely flush to gain planning permission and to do justice to the heritage of the building. Other features that experts told us were important include an imitation of the putty around the roof light frame, exposed hinge posts and glazing clips, as well as a single glazed appearance using the stepped edge glazing. It's a double glazed roof light, but it looks single glazed. Internally, you should not see any bulky framework, just natural light. The internal linings help to achieve this. Traditional ironmongery, using the hand and pole winders, help to achieve an authentic look. However, it is now accepted that motors may be necessary as well as modern blinds. CE marking came in 2013, so roof lights must conform to modern standards, including thermal efficiency. The internal linings control condensation and channel it back out onto the roof. The moisture-resistant linings also act as thermal barriers to achieve the required U values through a steel framework. Here are some projects that have achieved planning permission and have conservation roof lights within their design. Twiston Architecture wanted to match the exterior Victorian building whilst having a contemporary feel within the loft space. They were also concerned about the internal head height in the loft. They used the conservation roof light to complement the aesthetics of the building, and having the top hung roof light instead of centre pivot worked with the restricted head height. The exposed black metal of the roof light frame, as well as the staircase, achieve a contemporary industrial feel. This project is in a conservation area and had to comply with strict planning regulations. Roof lights had to be completely flush, and 4 of the 8 conservation roof lights were suitable for access and escape. Roof light for B1 means of escape must have an area of 0.33 metres squared, and a width and length of at least 450 mm, and be no higher than 1,100 millimetres from the floor level. You can see these are side hung rather than top hung. The standard ironmongery allows for ventilation, but can be unclipped and opened, and a gas strut takes the weight of the roof light. This is a renovated derelict barn. To provide light to the spaces below, 14 roof lights measuring 2,600 by 1,300 millimetres with a variety of openings were used. All of them are linked vertically to provide maximum natural light below. Even contemporary roof lights should sit flush within the roof line to ensure they do not dominate the roof. This roof light has edge-to-edge glazing, so it looks like a sheet of glass in the roof. Internally, lining should be created so the framework cannot be seen. More modern ironmongery should be utilised for this design, or completely concealed motors should be used. This building was to be super insulated, so it was important that the roof light did not compromise the thermal efficiency of the building. Triple glazing was requested by the client, but this would not have been allowed for a flush finish as stipulated by the planning officers. The client wanted to replicate the 1970s work of James Turrell called Sky Spaces. They were enclosed spaces in the roof where viewers would sit on benches for an edge-to-edge view of the sky. The conservation roof light, as requested by the planners, would not have been suitable, but a frameless contemporary window installed flush was satisfactory. The reveals are displayed at an angle to allow for as much light as possible, and the windows were placed at focal points such as over the shower, bath and stairwell. For thermal efficiency, Saint-Gobain glass is used. It has a self-cleaning outer and achieves a centre pane U value of 1. This external image also shows again that required flush installation. 23 roof lights were specified for these grade 2 listed holiday lets. Architect Charlie, as well as the homeowner, wanted to ensure that the roof lights would not sit proud of the zinc roof, as well as having some of the roof lights complying with B1 means of escape. This is a residential project that was designed to reflect local agricultural architecture in the style of local barns. There is single story of stonework and a steep pitched roof of 58 degrees. The flush insulation for a sleek finish was important here, as well as a contemporary handle for easy opening. Architect Gareth Pywell, founder of Power Architects, bought this Victorian central London semi-detached house, and he got permission to raise the roof as it was previously defined as low eave storage space. 3 roof windows were specified with white internal linings for a continuation of the contemporary decor, as well as concealed motors. Externally, the roof lights were installed flush with the slate roof and with zinc cladding covering the walls as a feature to appear as though the roof is running down the walls. Rob McGinns of Hive Architects designed this new extension to celebrate and innovate with timber, texture and light. Both roof lights have been orientated south to increase solar gains and light levels. Woodroom has since been awarded with the Manchester Architect Awards Best Small Projects and shortlisted for the Structural Timber Awards Architect of the Year and Private Housing Project of the Year. It is important that you use the correct product designed for your roof type. Can a flat roof light be installed onto a pitched roof? The simple answer is no, it will not perform adequately and it will not have the correct aesthetics. Typically in a pitched roof, the roof light will lie directly in the path of running water, being delivered to the head of the roof light from above. This places stress on the integrity of the frame joists and the abutment details. Roof lights for flat roofs are designed to be installed on upstands of timber. The upstands lift the roof light away from the roof surface by about 150 millimetres. Other than the rainwater that directly falls on them, water never accumulates on the roof light frame. Roof lights designed specifically for installation into pitched roofs, therefore, require carefully considered jointing methods. Abutment details, perimeter frame details, and flashing details must be specifically designed to withstand ingress of water onto pitched roofs. And again, the same question the other way around, can a pitched roof light be installed onto a flat roof? Again, the answer is no. The weatherproofing is so different, so for a flat roof light is required. Similarly to pitched roof lights, there are two designs for flat roof lights: heritage conservation styles and a contemporary design. Here are the flat roof lights for historical conservation projects. A conservation flat roof light should have the same features as the pitched version: the exposed hinge posts, glazing clips, and stepped edge glazing. Internally, there should be linings to hide the framework. Often in historical buildings, accessing the roof for maintenance can be difficult. A flat roof light can provide a simple solution for this. Flat roof extensions are a simple way to increase living space, and as extensions become more and more common, there is a greater need for a contemporary, cost-effective flat roof light that does not compromise on design. Externally, a contemporary flat roof light should have clean lines to give a modern appearance, and internally you should just see natural light. No framework, just linings that go up to the glass. A range of standard and bespoke sizes are important to complement the size of the room. This is an example of a fixed shut and a concealed motor opening roof light. There are now many innovative ways for a modern flat roof light to achieve very low standard U values using double glazing to rival the pre-existing ideas that triple glazing is required. There are varying solutions for when larger spans of roof windows are required, depending on the design and the budget. Pitched roof lights can always be linked with LED, but this is a time-consuming task and leaves a large gap between the roof lights. Here are some examples of how roof lights can be joined to achieve a better aesthetic. A linking bar allows for standard pitched roof lights to be joined in the most cost-effective way. This is a bespoke option where roof lights are designed to join together, creating a smaller gap between the roof lights while still allowing for necessary structural supports. This can be used on flat or pitched roof lights. And this detail shows a single base plate with several hinged casements, creating the smallest gap between the roof lights, but it is limited in the span that can be achieved. This option again is suitable for both flat and pitched roof lights. This form of Victorian coach house required maximum light to the hall and stairwell below, whilst taking account of the original oak beams. Award-winning architect Peter Williams specified 10 conservation roof lights with linking bars. These roof lights provided ventilation and the required light, whilst conforming to the strict planning rules, and did not detract from the external appearance of the building in any way. This client sought to replicate an idea from a property they saw in Europe on holiday for their house in Oxfordshire. This project features a run of roof lights along the roof, ensuring as much natural light as possible. They chose the 3 linked roof lights on a single base plate with an individual roof light either side to accommodate the trusses in the roof. Architect Max Briffer wanted a spacious feel for the 7 mews houses converted from industrial buildings for Grange Street Mews in Hertfordshire. He worked with us and the local planning officers to create these studio designer conservation roof lights with an authentic period appearance. There are often situations where a more bespoke approach is required.
When you're inside, you look up and you almost have the impression that there's nothing there at all. Like James Turrell, or like the opening in the Pantheon, you know, just an oculus. Light brings space to life, you know, without light, you know, what's the point of space? 4 years ago, I spotted this site. It was at auction, surrounded completely by Victorian buildings. And I realized that with all the adjacent buildings, we had to build something that would be quite low in profile because it sort of interfered with adjacent established rights to light. And the idea of these pavilions with the pyramidal roofs came up. The house is made up out of 6 pods, and then together the pods define the courtyard. And I didn't want the windows facing the courtyard to be too large, so it became clear that we needed our source of light from above. We got working with the roof light company quite early on. I had been familiar with the Neo roof light. I worked with Peter King for the development of that product, and we showed him a really early model of the scheme. That informed the design because he spoke to us about the maximum dimensions, for instance. We then changed the design so that you know, we would get a really nice big opening within the parameters that sort of make sense over each pavilion. The geometry of the building is incredibly complicated. Hardly anything is rectangular. We started having these trapezoid shapes by intersecting, sort of slicing off the top of the pyramids at an angle, and the pyramids themselves already not rectangular. So you had all these different trapezoid shapes. The roof light company had all the 3D modeling of their system, and they could then quickly develop the trapezoid versions so that we had fairly good visualizations of what things would look like. Yeah, it's a very complicated project because no two roof lights were the same, and we knew we wanted opening roof lights. That was one of the criteria. We knew it was going to be difficult to reach them, so you know, it made sense to have an automated system to lift up the roof lights. And I knew that the roof light company had worked that system out completely. They knew exactly which motor to put in with which weight roof light. And then on the outside, we needed to get the frames to sit on top of the standing seam roof, and so the surround of the frames had to match the color of the standing seam roof, and then it just had to sit on like a sort of slice of red steel. That's what we wanted from in the side elevation. It was terribly exciting when they finally came in and they were lifted in, and you know, we got onto the adjacent roof and looked down, and it was a major milestone in the development of the project when that happened. The thing about the natural light is, of course, that the top light is that it changes all the time. It changes the moods inside the house. It's a great source of light, and you can follow the course of the day as the light moves around. So you're very in tune with what's happening, what nature's doing around you. So it's almost a spiritual quality. Throughout this project, there was a sort of excitement and buzz about making it happen. And yeah, I think everybody shared that, and the roof lights were a really important part of bringing the whole project to life.
Okay, that was architect Hennin talking us through Tin House. Historically, the only choice for a ridge light was to place roof lights either side of the ridge beam, but now a fully self-supporting roof light can reduce the distance between the glass. They come fully assembled for ease of installation and can have a contemporary design or a traditional conservation style. They have a beautiful frameless appearance internally and externally. This bespoke 4.5 metre roof window consists of 4 linked triangular base plates to create this unique design. 12 of the casements were fitted with electronic actuation connected to the building management system's heat and rain sensors. This is Caring Wood. It's inspired by the traditional oast houses of Kent. It comprises of locally sourced handmade peg clay tiles, locally quarried ragstone and chestnut cladding. The house has 4 towers with interlinking roofs like markers in the landscape. The bespoke shaped roof lights are installed on the top of each tower. Architect Simon Moroney wanted to create a roof featuring photovoltaic panels to provide renewable energy, alongside a roof light to fill the attic space with light and ventilation for this semi-detached house in the London Borough of Richmond. They didn't want to compromise on the external aesthetics of the building, so the roof light needed to be elegant and blend seamlessly into the photovoltaic panels. We designed a frameless solar roof light, 1.7 meters by a meter, to perfectly complement the scheme, as well as individually designed flashing details to coordinate with the photovoltaic panels, and concealed motors in the roof light for the frameless interior. As well as aesthetics and design, a project may also require specific technical and performance information. There are many performance requirements for roof lights, lots of them listed here, and if any of them are relevant to your project, we can discuss these in depth during consultation. I hope these slides have helped you to understand the benefits of incorporating roof lights into your project, the variety of options that are available, and what might be an appropriate solution for your project. If you'd like the chance to win a professional photo shoot of your finished property, you can send me an email with photo shoot as the subject. And here are my contact details. If you'd like to take them down, you can email me regarding the photo shoot on the previous slide, any roof light queries that you have following this presentation, or if you'd like to send me the plans for your project so that I can review them, look at the roof light requirements of your project and advise you on the possible solutions, I'm happy to look at those too. And if anyone has any questions now, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you so much, Amy. That was a great presentation. I really enjoyed that video as well. It's a really interesting project. Very relaxing to watch that video as well. So I had a few questions come through, Amy. You actually addressed one of them, but I'll ask it again. So Finbar was asking, are the triple glazed roof lights available? And I think you've touched on one project where they requested that because it was a very thermally efficient building, but it wasn't suitable. So if you could just recap on that, Amy, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course. We don't tend to offer triple glazed. It has been offered, occasionally on bespoke, but as part of our standard range, we don't tend to offer it just because we don't think it's needed. We can achieve the sort of market leading thermal properties using double glazing.
Great, thank you very much. Harriet and Kate have both asked a similar question around the potential for overheating. So what can you do to ensure that that isn't an issue or mitigate it if they're south-facing?
So all of our pitched and flat roof lights can have opening options on them if you want to have a way of providing ventilation so that you can let that heat out. Equally, on most of them, we can provide a solar glazing, especially if it is south facing and if that's a particular concern. There's usually a solar grade of glazing available that we can supply. And then equally, some people, rather than the solar glazing, tend to go down the route of blinds, which again, we can supply blinds to go into them. So it depends on your preference, really.
Great, thank you. A couple more, Amy. A quick one from Lynn. Lynn's just asking, is there a difference between a roof light and a skylight?
No, it's the terms are sort of interchangeable. We use the word roof light, but generally they mean the same thing.
Great, thank you very much. And finally from Keith, I think he previously had some conservation style roof lights and did have some issues in terms of cleaning them. So do you offer advice and best practices in terms of maintaining and cleaning them? So
our pitched Neo roof lights come with a self-cleaning glazing specification. So that's within the glass. And the idea of that is the combination of sunlight and rain helps to break down anything that falls on the glass, any sort of dirt or bits from trees, that sort of thing. And then when there is rain, it washes the roof light for you. That obviously doesn't mean that they'll never need maintenance. It's just the idea is that it will be far less often that you'll need to maintain the roof lights. We don't tend to offer it on the flat roof lights only because you need a pitch, a gradient to make that process effective. You need the rain to be washing away the stuff on the roof lights. For the top hung roof lights, we can also offer a sort of a strange shape, a bended cleaning tool. So it's designed for you to be able to get it out of the opening in the roof light and clean it from inside the room.
Great, lovely, thank you, Amy. And I'm going to allow myself 1 minute just to go off on a slight tangent and put you on the spot. So you mentioned that you became employee owned a couple of years ago, which I know about, and many people will know that the NSBRC, we're an employee owned company as well. So I was just interested to ask you, Amy, just briefly, as an employee of an employee owned company, what difference has it made to you?
It's brilliant. I mean, we had quite well ingrained values in the company before we became employee owned. So actually it wasn't much of a transition for us because we already had those values in place. But I think it was really important transition from being a family owned company to especially as a lot of the employees have been at the company since the 90s when the family started the company. That transition of them retiring and handing the company over to us, I think brought everyone together. We're about, don't know the exact number off the top of my head, I think there's about 65 employees currently, 65 co-owners. So we're the perfect size where we sort of feel like a family. But it is brilliant in terms of, especially with everything we've gone through in the past 10 months, that feeling of coming together and working towards making the business a success has been really, really important.
Brilliant. No, that's really nice to hear. Great. Sorry to go off on a tangent. I'm always interested if I find another employee owner somewhere. So
we all
Amy,
love talking about it, so it's okay.
Great. Amy, thank you so much for your presentation. That was really great. So we're going to see you again in an hour's time for the Q&A. So if I can ask you to pause your video and audio for the next hour. And I'm now going to introduce Gary Brooks from Chamberlain Doors. So Gary, if I could ask you to turn on your video. Morning, Gary, how are you?
Good morning, I'm very well, how are you? And you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, very well. So just for everyone watching, we've got 215 people with us watching today, which is fantastic.
No pressure.
So we are halfway through the session. I didn't factor in a comfort break. Someone has asked me that in the chat, so I'm sorry about that. You're just gonna have to make a dash and come back. But okay, this session is being recorded. So if you do miss anything or you want to cover anything, again, you will get a link to these sessions mid to the end of next week. And Gary, the theme of this session is doors and windows, but at the centre we often get asked about garage doors. So we thought we'd take the opportunity just to spend half an hour finding out more about garage doors, different designs, different options. So if you're happy, Gary, I'm going to hand over to you.
Okay, thanks for that. I'm assuming everybody can see the PowerPoint presentation that's on there, which is the online surgery.
Gary.
Sorry?
All looks fine, Gary, thank you.
Okay. What I want to do is to just move the slides on. 1 second, it's been a bit temperamental this morning. There we go. What I want to do this morning is run through the agenda that's in front now, which is to talk about Chamberlain Doors, strategic partners, the types of the garage doors from its terms of its operating mechanisms, etc., the designs of doors and how those have changed over the years, through to insulated doors, garage door automation, and then home automation. 1 second. Chamberlain Doors. We were established in 1974, and we are Europe's largest independent garage door specialist. Our chairman, our CEO, Roy Chamberlain, is still active within the business, and our managing director, Karen Diggle, has been with the company 40 years, started as a temp. So the policy of promoting within wherever possible is certainly testament to that. And we have approximately 60% of our staff have all been with us for over 10 years. So lot of knowledge and experience within the business. The premises, we're based in Blackrod, Bolton, and we have installation centres in Glasgow and Newcastle. We're looking to expand that during 2021, and we're currently looking at premises in the south of England. From a production and stock capacity, we have about £400,000 worth of stock at any given time, and that includes standard made-to-measure doors, RAL colours, along with automation and access controls. From a logistics point of view, we are the only fully national company offering to the trade and retail sectors, home delivery and to construction sites. With regards to the installation, we offer from everything from initial survey right through to installation. And we have a team of dedicated surveyors and trained installers, and where all our installers hold CSCS cards, giving you to be a complete solution provider in garage doors. With regard to Chamberlain's, we're the preferred choice in the supply installation of garage doors to many of the UK's leading house builders, from Barratt's, Taylor Wimpey, Persimmon, Redrow, etc. All, to name a few, all purchase their garage doors through Chamberlain's. And from a customer experience point of view, we really do look to support everybody with their product portfolio, service, reliability, technical support, and after sales. We really are, or try to be, a one-stop shop in everything. With regard to strategic partners, we as a business since 1974 have built up, and I'm sure you can imagine we've traded with a number of partners over the years. But we do believe in working with and sharing the pain and sharing the gain with our strategic partners. And as you can see, there's a number of household names on the slides there, from Horman, Garador, from our garage door point of view. And then we also have AutoOver, MyQ and Somfy as strategic partners with regard to the latest technology in home automation and access controls. And hopefully the NSBRC and Chamberlain Doors will be strategic partners throughout your self-build and renovation journey. With regards to types of garage doors and operating mechanisms, sectional doors is probably one of the fastest growing trends in garage doors at the moment, with many features and benefits. Vertically opening, so there's no need to park your car 1 metre away from the garage door, and it limits the damage opportunities. I'm sure we've all had damaged garage doors at bump height, where you've opened the garage door and it's hit the car bumper. So with increased space, as the door is closer to the ceiling, so you also get maximum drive-through width, and you can also get maximum drive-through height. And then with sectional garage doors, which we'll talk about shortly, you also get the opportunity for insulated doors with increased U values, weather sealing around the doors, and especially if there's a room attached to the garage or above the garage, it's certainly insulation plays a major part in it. What I'm going to do now is play you a short video on garage door, on sectional garage doors.
Here we've got Herman's sectional garage door, which is proving to be the most popular in Europe. It's insulated, very secure, and of course, automatic. As you can see, it opens in sections, hence the name. Right, as the door's coming down, there's a couple of things I want to show you. First off, this. A great safety feature. If you've got children or your car poking out of the bottom of the garage, you'll see that this comes straight back up. Now, if I put the door back down again, these sections here have a long panel of insulation that will stop any of the heat coming out. And as my fingers are in these gaps, you can see they won't get trapped because the mechanism pushes them straight out. Now, as you can see here, the door fits into these tracks which roll all along the roofline until you get to this operator here, which works with the Bisecure system. There's an added feature here, which is the light, which turns on automatically when you operate the door and actually can be turned on independently as well. Now, this door has an extra security feature, which comes in the shape of a mechanical lock. The beauty of this sectional garage door is that although the frame here is squared off, because it's fitted on the inside of the building, it means you can put it with an opening of any shape. Now, as a sectional garage door, it's also sealed on all four sides, which means it's the only truly insulated door. And because it's fitted on the inside of the building, it means it's not encroaching on your drive-through space. Now, with this flexible surface, it means that even with an uneven floor, you can still create a full seal. And whilst we're on insulation, this door also comes with 42 millimetres of insulating foam between two sheets of steel. And the foam isn't just for insulation, it also helps to make the door stronger and more rigid, so it lasts for years to come. Another feature unique to Herman is a plastic frame shoe, which offers protection against corrosion and rust at the base of the frame. The door we've been looking at today is silk grain finish. And this piece was the Deco Grain Timber Effect in golden oak. There are 15 standard colours and finishes available, and if none of those take your fancy, there are over 200 more to choose from. So if security, insulation and convenience are your priorities, then this sectional door is the one to go for.
Okay, I'd now like to move on to another type of operating mechanism, which are up and over garage doors. I'm sure most people are familiar with these. Traditionally, this is probably the most popular type of lifting system in the UK, unlike probably the rest of Europe and the world, which are predominantly sectional doors. Due to manufacturing process and materials, there are a lot more designs with up and over doors, especially in timber and GRP. However, obviously recycling GRP is becoming, or because of recycling, GRP is becoming less popular, certainly within the UK. I've prepared another two slides which will explain the differences in up and over lifting mechanisms. They are a canopy type door, which as you can see the pictures there, by operating the door, when the door opens, roughly 2/3 go into the garage and a third remains on the outside, hence the name canopy type door. Retractable doors, traditionally, if you're considering automation, you certainly need to be contemplating retractable doors. Automation on canopy doors is problematic. And, I would not advise you to go to canopy doors if you're considering automation. I'm going to play you now another short video explaining retractable doors.
This is the retractable up and over door, also available in manual. As you can see, the door goes all the way into the garage along these tracks.
Oh, sorry, I'll replay that.
This arrangement makes the door more robust, which allows for a gentler closing and opening action and makes the door easier to automate. This style of door uses springs to control the door movement. And with Herman, 3 springs means that even if one were to fail, the door would continue to operate safely. The 3 springs also reduce the risk of finger trapping that you'd get with one large spring. Finger trap protection comes included, and as you can see here, there's a safe gap between the lifting arm and the frame. With Herman, it's the attention to detail that makes all the difference, like these corners, which, unlike others, are welded together for extra rigidity. In manual, 2-point locking comes as standard, but there's always the option to extend that to 4-point locking. In automatic, it's industry standard to deactivate this manual lock, but with Herman, there's the option to link it to the automatic function. In automatic, doors are secured via a mechanical lock in the operator boom. An optional steel frame makes fitting so much easier and quicker than with a wooden frame. We've been looking at the rosewood deco grain, which is one of a number of colours and finishes available. You can get this door in steel, timber and GRP. This retractable door is the smoothest of the Up and Overs, but it also comes with the security and safety that you'd expect from Herman.
What I'd like to do now, we've talked about sectional garage doors and one-piece Up and Over doors. Probably the fastest growing product in garage doors at the moment are roller doors. They're really born out of window shutters in Europe, and I'm sure if any of you have been into France or Germany, etc., you will have seen many types of roller shutters on windows and doors. And so this is where sort of the UK has grasped this product, and because of its features and benefits, that it gives us in terms of it rolls up like a piece of carpet, and then inside that box, it's all concealed inside that box. And that box is 300 millimeters square, which means all your wall space and all your ceiling space is not taken up by either a sectional garage door, its lifting gate, or an Up and Over door. So it really is space saving. It gives you maximum drive-through width and height. And it also allows you, if you're fitting it behind the brickwork, you can then use a sort of an arched approach to the exterior of your garage. I'll now show you another video. Hope you don't mind the videos, but certainly videos and pictures paint 1,000 words.
The Herman Rollmatic is a unique automatic roller door with lots of individual features. It's got a superior look, the smooth finish on each lath creating a high quality feel. Matching fascia and side guides in the same finish as the laths create a complete look. Active safety is a feature of all Herman's doors, and as you can see, this one's no different. The minute it gets to an obstruction, it pings straight back up. The way this works is unique to Herman garage doors because the door panel is linked directly to the roller shaft. The chain drive from the external operator and its inbuilt force limitation detects an obstruction and immediately reverses. Others need additional safety edge devices to do this. As well as active safety, there are also passive measures like this barrel casing, which comes as standard and eliminates any risk of fingers getting trapped inside. And whilst we're on finger trapping, these covers over the springs prevent fingers getting trapped here. The operator's on the outside of the barrel, which prevents overheating and makes any routine maintenance a little bit easier. There's also a light here, which turns on and off when the door's operated. The unique spring tension technology makes the door movement smoother and also prevents wear and tear in the operator. And in the event of any power failure, all you need to do is pull on this cord here and you're in manual mode. Once in manual mode, it's easy to move about. You won't need an awkward crank handle and it won't come crashing down. It'll stay where it's put. This soft edge helps the door to seal even when the ground's uneven. So, if it's space saving, security and safety you're after, the Rollmatic is your door.
I'd now like to talk a little about designs of doors. As in the UK, there could be up to a third of the front elevation of the home can be the garage door. And I think now the designers of today are evaluating the garage's potential and are now looking at more designer doors to enhance the curbside appeal. And it's now more of a necessity or a necessary, try saying that, style component. So as when you look at windows, entrance doors, the garage door is now becoming part of the designer's remit in enhancing the curbside appeal, especially with looking at crafted metals, window facades, certainly pedestrians are sort of slowing down and marveling now at garage doors. The next slide will show you just a small selection of these kind of situations. So certainly from anthracite grey is now very, very popular colour within the UK, and matching the top left, the anthracite grey sectional garage door there to the entrance door, or the bottom right hand corner where it's windows are now becoming to play a major part. So the Herman have introduced this particular door here. So again, it matches the window frames. So it really is now becoming an integral part of a designer's remit to enhance the curbside appeal. Insulation plays a big part in garage doors, especially, and I'm sure we've all gone through the bad weather recently, and especially if you've got a garage where there is an integral roof, which we've already talked about, a bedroom above, so heat retention, increased energy efficiencies are starting to play a big part in it now. And more so on probably sectional garage doors and roller doors, which are polyurethane foam filled. This increases the U value performance of the door. Probably the most popular or the most energy efficient door is in the market at the moment is the LPU 67 from Herman. 67 mil thick, with very, very good U values. This I'm going to show you now is a video on the LPU 67 and its thermal efficiencies.
With so many different garage doors to choose from, selecting the one that's right for you is an important decision. When it comes to thermal efficiency, Herman's new sectional garage door, the LPU 67 Thermo, has been designed to offer the highest levels of insulation. With 67 millimetres of insulating foam sandwiched between two sheets of steel, the LPU 67 provides 30% better thermal insulation when compared to the LPU 42. The result is Herman's best ever U value. However, the foam isn't just for insulation, it also makes the door stronger and more rigid. On top of this, the LPU 67 is available with Herman's optional thermo frame. This addition creates a thermal break between the frame and the brickwork, which can improve thermal efficiency by up to 15%. This flexible edge means that even on an uneven floor, you can still create an effective seal. And to help resist drafts and water ingress, there are large blade seals at both the top and both sides of the door. Like all of Herman's sectional garage doors, the LPU 67 opens vertically in sections, hence the name. As the door closes, there are a couple of things I'd like to show you. First of all, this. A great safety feature that recognises obstructions in the door's path and makes it immediately reverse. As you can see, when the door opens, it's guided back into the roof space along these tracks until you get to the operator here. This is Herman's Supramatic door operator, which works with the BiSecure system. The light, which turns on automatically when you operate the door, can also be turned on independently using the hand transmitter. The operator also has a mechanical lock within the boom, which engages automatically to secure the door from being forced open. This provides homeowners with high levels of security, especially in the event of a power failure. The double tension springs and cables on each side of the door prevent it from crashing to the floor. This patented system prevents the risk of damage or injury. If you choose the premium version of the LPU 67, the fitting parts, tracks and connection rails are powder coated to match the colour of the inside of the door. This is ideal for homeowners using their garage for functions other than car storage, such as gyms, utility rooms or workspaces. In addition to this, the double track rollers here ensure that the door runs quieter and smoother than any other garage door on the market. Another feature unique to Herman's sectional garage doors is the plastic shoe at the base of the frame, which has been designed to offer protection from corrosion and rust. The door we've been looking at today has been finished in Decograin foiled Titan metallic CH703. However, there is a selection of standard colours and Decograin finishes available, and if none of those take your fancy, there are over 200 more RAL colours to choose from. So, if you're after a garage door that can provide you with the highest levels of thermal insulation and security, then Herman's LPU 67 Thermo is the one for you.
I'd like to now move on to garage door automation. I think this is one of those items that once you've had a remote controlled garage door, you ever wonder why you never had them earlier on. Just by pressing the button on the hand transmitter or from the car, or they can also now be controlled from your mobile telephone, a tablet or a computer. So the days of manually opening your garage door in the rain and snow are well and truly long gone. Automation is becoming part and parcel of our daily work schedules, and the installation of these is really moving at a pace. The features and benefits of automation, where would we be without videos? I'll let this young lady explain those.
This is Herman's Supramatic garage door operator, designed to provide homeowners with an opening speed that's 50% faster than alternative operators and to offer quicker access from the street into your garage. It's located on a boom that incorporates a Kevlar drive belt and is suitable for most up and over retractable and sectional garage doors, providing stable and quiet door travel. Designed with a high-quality brushed aluminium cover, the Supramatic operator has an elegant appearance. The Supramatic comes with a 5-button and a 4-button hand transmitter, which can easily attach to your car keyring. For the utmost convenience, the 5-button hand transmitter can be used to check whether a garage door is closed at any time. Green shows that the door is closed, while red shows the door is open. Now, once the door's closed, the anti-lift hook automatically engages in the boom end stop, locking the door and securing it against forced entry. Now, as that's a purely mechanical process, you'll be protected even if there's a power failure. If there's a power failure, you need to pull the emergency release here so that you can open the door manually. When the power returns, you can reset it by pressing the green button and operating the door as normal. In addition to this, the Supramatic operator can be used to adjust the garage door to a second opening height to allow homeowners to ventilate their garage without completely opening the door. And if this isn't enough, this operator can be fitted with a climate sensor that automatically activates the ventilation setting when preset humidity levels are reached. This light here, which turns on automatically when the door is being operated, can also be turned on independently using both a hand transmitter or a push button. This feature here allows you to set all of the operator functions by simply entering a 2-digit number. With the combination of quality, security and intelligent technology, this operator is the perfect fit for any garage door and will function as a reliable operator for years to come. Herman's.
As we move away from garage door automation with technology now, we're now going to be going into more home automation. And we're now looking at opportunities to now control your home by your mobile phone, your tablet or your computer. So Tomorrow's World, for those of you remember the program, and I'm sure my age, so I do apologize, but it's not Tomorrow's World anymore. We're in this world now. And so with technology, we can now control the heating, the lighting, the blinds, V-looked blinds, as well as your garage door, all from mobile phones and tablets. And this, as an industry, it's a £30 billion industry globally. It is really is a very, very fast expanding market in home automation. If you're wanting just to control your garage door, then that's possible with the MyQ. This integrates into your garage door opener, connects to the internet, and then you can operate your garage door as long as you obviously have a Wi-Fi connection from anywhere in the world, from your smartphone, tablet or computer. And the MyQ will tell you whether the door's open, whether it's closed, etc. I'm going to play you a video on MyQ, and hopefully this will work.
This is MyQ. With MyQ, not only can I operate my garage door, MyQ also monitors it and lets me know if my garage is open or closed. MyQ works over the internet and makes it possible to open my garage door from anywhere in the world, and close it, and open it, or close it. And MyQ is easy to install. Connect the gateway, create an account, establish the connection, bam! That's MyQ. Easy, fast and secure. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Bam.
If you're wanting to control more than your garage door, and you're wanting to start to operate your heating, your lighting, your garage door, your gate automation, etc. We here use Somfy Tahoma, and this works with a number of major brands that we're probably all familiar with, from Honeywell, Danfoss, Philips Hue Lighting, and if you should wish, you can also with Google Assistant or Amazon Alexa, give these instructions to turn your heating on, turn your heating down, open your garage door, open your gate by voice commands. So the final video I have today explains a little bit about Somfy Tahoma.
Somfy brings you a smart home that is fully adaptable to your wishes. Your home is more comfortable, safer and efficient. Tahoma is the beating heart of your smart home. Thanks to Tahoma, your roller shutters, awnings and garage door, as well as your lights and heating, are easily controlled from an app on your smartphone, tablet or computer. You can always keep a close eye on your home using cameras or sensors. And if anything unexpected happens, you will be alerted immediately via a push message to your phone. 3 menus are used to personalize your home. With the agenda menu, you can manage your home according to your lifestyle. For example, it's 7 a.m. Your lights go on, your shutters open, and your coffee machine starts up. At 6 p.m., your lights turn on. At 10 p.m., the heating switches to eco mode. With the smart menu, your equipment can be automated according to the weather. For example, you want your shutters to close automatically in the summer when it's hot outside, so your home stays cool inside. You can set your lights to automatically turn on at sunset and off at sunrise. This way, you scare off intruders by giving the impression there is somebody home at all times. With the Scenarios menu, you are always connected to your home. For example, you can set the leave scenario from your car. The roller shutters close, your heating switches to eco mode for the day. The lights turn off and the gate closes behind you. This gives you total peace of mind. With Tahoma, your smart home is very flexible. You can add equipment and choose service at your own pace, depending on your priorities, your needs, and your budget. Tahoma is compatible with a wide range of Somfy products, as well as many partner brands. Smart living starts with Somfy.
That's the end of my presentation. I hope you found it useful and that everything came through as it should do.
Thank you so much, Gary. Yeah, we had a couple of technical issues in the dress rehearsal yesterday, didn't we? But all the videos worked brilliantly, so thank you very much for that.
Fantastic.
We had a number of questions coming through. To be honest, some of them you actually answered during the presentation. So there was a question of whether you could get insulated garage doors, which was covered in the presentation video. There was a question around with the automated systems, what happened if there's a power outage, but one of the videos quite clearly showed the pull toggle and the manual around that.
With regard to that, just to the point, if there is no integral door into the garage other than the garage door, we fit what we call an emergency release device, and it's a bit like a key on which we have to drill into the garage door, which will then give you access to the release mechanism on the garage door. But if you have an integral door, there is no need for an emergency release device.
Great, excellent. There's a few more questions that have come through, Gary, but what I'm going to do to keep us on time, I'm going to save those back for the Q&A in the next half an hour. So thank you very much, Gary.
No problems.
We'll see you again shortly. So I'm going to ask Donna Muir from Velfac to say hello. So Donna, let me just remember, I'm just making you a co-host, Donna, so you should be able to turn your video on now. Donna can hear me.
Yep, I can unmute.
Brilliant, thanks, Donna.
And yeah, video's on.
Brilliant, good. Donna, before you share your screen, just whilst I put everyone's attention, and just to give you a few seconds just to get set, I just want to share something on our website with everyone. So just one moment. So our website, nsbrc.co.uk, there's various tabs at the top. So whilst you're at home and we're all in lockdown, if you want information about the exhibitors that are talking today or across the 3 days of these surgeries, or in fact any of the exhibitors that are on display at the centre, if you just go to the exhibitors on display section of our website, let's try this out. So I'm going to go to doors, going to click on doors and search on that, and it brings up all the companies that we have in the centre. So let's pick Velfac. So we're going to Velfac's page. It gives you a little bit of information on obviously Velfac's website. You'll find a little form here at the top of the page. So if you just fill in those details, that inquiry will go directly to Velfac, and they'll be able to send you more information about their products. And obviously that applies for all of the companies that we have in the centre. And it also tells you a bit more about what they do. So if you do want to carry on your research after these sessions, just go to the exhibitors section here and you can find out more about all of the, I think there's almost 250 companies that we have exhibiting at the NSBRC whilst our doors are closed. So Donna, I'm going to hand over to you now. So if you want to share your screen, and I'll just make sure you're happy. So this is the final presentation of the session, other than the Q&A, which will start once you finish. So Donna, that looks good to me. So I shall hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thanks Harvey. Hi everyone, my name's Donna. I work for a company called Devista, who has two window brands called Rationale and Velfac, and I'm here to take you through the weird and wonderful choices that are in front of you when trying to specify windows and doors for your house. So we will go through a number of things today. We will go through generally the major types of materials that are out there, you know, the usual suspects. What are people generally using for windows and doors? I'll go through some of the properties, some of the jargon that we use in the industry that might actually help you on your journey to try and understand some of the characteristics, performances of the products that people are offering you, and then go through just a couple of more hints and tips and tricks really of what to think about when you're specifying your windows and doors. So years ago, windows were literally a glass covering. You know, you had a bit of putty, some timber framing and a bit of glass, and you generally built your window holes just to bring a little bit of light into the building. Now they are so much more. We use them to enhance our quality of life, really. So the amount of light that is thrown into a building can increase the way that you feel. It has a positive psychological effect. So actually flooding the inside of your home with lots of daylight is proving quite popular when you're self-building, and also when you're changing your existing properties by way of refurbishment or renovation. So what we'll do is we'll go through what each of the different types of windows offer you in terms of security, how they look, you know, how they're going to make you feel inside, and then you guys can make up your own decision as to which suits your project better. So I attend a lot of exhibitions. Haven't been able to do it on foot for a little while due to COVID, but we went out and we kind of asked everybody in your situation, what is very important to you when you are building or when you're renovating your property? And you know, they came back with 10, 12 different things, but what was quite important is that the top 3 items that people are most interested in is making the inside feel big, increasing the light that kind of comes through into that building, and, you know, curb appeal. So how does it look internally and externally? And actually windows and doors are the things that help you achieve this. By having slim frames on the outside, you can maximize the light. You know, you can add glazing bars, you can choose different profiles, different materials to give a different architectural look to the building. But you can also choose different products to how they look and feel on the inside. So for example, you choose a timber on the inside rather than aluminium because you're trying to make it feel a bit warmer and a little less commercial in a domestic house. So windows and doors don't just cover an opening, you know, then they're not used just to look out of, they are used much more as a feature. So finding out as much as you possibly can about all of the different types of windows and doors that are out there on offer is the best place to start. So what we'll do is we'll go through the main 4 that are in the market at the moment. So that's timber, UPVC, steel, aluminium, or the kind of the new kids on the block, which are mixing 2 materials together to create a composite window. So if we start with timber, you know, it looks beautiful, it feels strong, it's great at insulating temperatures, it's great for security, you know, they're big chunky pieces of wood. You can also get away with using timber in a lot of areas where you can't use the newer products, for example in listed buildings or in places of natural beauty, where, you know, the planners really don't want you messing around with how the streets look. And then one of the biggest points with timber is it's renewable. You know, we can recycle it, we can reuse it. and really does give character to a building. But with everything that is good, there are also some disadvantages. So maintaining a timber product can be quite costly. It can also be quite time consuming. I wouldn't fancy being the one that had to go and re-prepare windows every 10 to 20 years. So really my advice for timber windows is that when you are talking to suppliers of timber windows, if you could ask them about maintenance schedules, or how often you're expected to maintain the windows, how that maintenance might be carried out, and ask them for some scheduling. That gives you a little bit of a forward thought as to, how much are these windows going to cost me moving forward. It may not just be the initial outlay for the timber windows. You may actually have to pay to maintain them moving forward. One of the other disadvantages is that if you are looking to maximize the daylight in your property, timber windows can actually have quite chunky sections, so you are reducing the amount of daylight that you can bring in. So another tip for if you're specifying timber windows but want to maximize daylight is to try and reduce the amount of breaks that you've got within one space. So the picture that is on the screen at the moment, you can see one space that is split into it's split into 4 sections in 3 places. Now what you could do in that situation is take out some of the top lights in the top, so that you are creating larger full glazed areas rather than breaking it up. But what that will also do is the more that you take away those little sections, the more the property is going to look modern. So it's sometimes a trade-off. Timber windows can also be quite bad with acoustics, but do your research. There are some companies out there that have got really good acoustic and U-value performance, so your energy that you're collecting. That, of course, with every product there is a bottom end and a top end, so just do your research across all of the different timber windows out there. Ask them about their performance, their lifetime, and their maintenance schedule. So then to move on to PVC, normally what I do is do a small poll at this point as to how many people have actually had PVC, and 95% of the people would raise their hands. And so they are definitely the nation's favourite, and I would say for lots and lots of reasons, really. Yeah, I can see someone's raising their hand there. Yeah, I mean, there are lots and lots of people who have used the product and will continue to use the product because, it's really easy, it's quick to make. There are lots of different options with regards to PVC. It fits in with most of the other streets that people are living in. If you're just renovating or refurbing, PVC is usually the first way to go because it fits with the rest of the buildings in the street. It has a lot of different options with regards to color and how it looks. So we can put wood grains in here to make it look like a timber window. You can take a dark brown color to make it look aluminium. They have different profiles so that they can look more traditional or more modern. So PVC really have cornered a market with regards to quick supply of a replacement window. Again, with regards to price, they're generally in the middle to the bottom end of cost across the board when you're looking at windows as a whole. But one of the disadvantages is the lifetime. You may pay less for a PVC product, but actually over the lifetime of the product, you may find yourself replacing it more often. One of the major negatives of PVC is that if you have a beautiful white window that we can see on screen, sometimes that can yellow in the sun. So it's probably a good idea to speak to the suppliers, ask them about discoloration and generally how long does that take and in what situations. How long are the seals and the ironmongery as well as the PVC product itself going to last? Really dig into the warranties and whether or not the warranties cover all of the moving working parts as well as the product itself. You will find that different suppliers out there have really different wavering warranties and what that warranty actually covers. What you want as a consumer is an all-encompassing comprehensive warranty that you can rely on for the length of that time. What I mean by that is when someone says, I'm going to give you a 12-year warranty, but actually the handles, the hinges, the gaskets and the glazing only carry a 2-year warranty. I'd start asking the question as to why that is. How can you expect to replace those items if they do fail within that period, and how easy that's going to be. But PVC in the main is a first point of call for many renovation extension projects. Good in the budget, but just think about the lifetime and the discoloration of the product in the future. Then we have aluminium or steel. So steel windows are critical, commonly known in the industry as critical windows. These can create really nice architectural features. The picture that we've got here is a very simple aluminium system that has been made to look really attractive just by the addition of the really slim glazing bars here. Now, PVC windows can also give this type of design, but the outside frame edge is going to be much deeper and heavier than you can see in this picture here. So this product is giving you the maximum light. It has a long life cycle and does very well in weather. So if you're in an exposed or an extreme weather location, steel or critical windows will do their job for you over a longer period of time. But again, the disadvantages are that it's a metal product. Energy wants to transfer through a metal object. So prices can start to rise with regards to aluminium and steel products, because companies have to apply new technologies to implement what we call thermal breaks. Now, a thermal break is usually a piece of profile that is put between the two aluminium pieces, and it just stops the energy that you've gained, that you've built up inside the house, from leaking back out to the cold outside, and also stops that cold outside leaking in. So it can start to put the cost up if you want a low U value and a very well insulated product. And then also what you would need to consider is that it's an aluminium or a metal product, so it can feel quite cold to touch on the inside of a property, and can also give a commercial feel. A domestic house, when you're using aluminium or steel, if you're not looking for a striking image, so when you walk into the room it's the very first thing you see, then perhaps look at maybe dual color. So you can create a beautiful facade on the outside, like you can see in the picture, where we've done it in a really dark black, you know, it's a matte finish and it's looking very chic. But on the inside you could do white, so that from the inside you're not getting that heavy daring effect, if you like. So it fits more with the comfort of the inside, and that will actually make it look a little bit warmer, even if the product itself is colder to touch. So that's something you can consider, you know, making up the openings, as you can see in the picture, with nice bars to give the property a little bit of character, and then also maybe perhaps looking at dual colors to make it a little bit more comfortable on the inside if you're not looking for something as daring. Then we go to the last in the list, which is composite. Now, I've done an extra picture here just to give you a visual of what I mean by a composite, and it is two materials which are sandwiched together to give you the benefits of both in one product. So the product that you can see here has an aluminium outer edge, and then on the inside it has a timber mainframe. So you're gaining the advantages of the steel and aluminium product with your slim sightline on the front there, which is giving you approximately 30 to 40% more additional daylight in both your opening units and your fixed units. Because you will notice here that we have an opening window that has the same profile as a fixed window. So traditionally in windows and doors, where you have a fixed section, the profile is super slim. Then when you have a window which is next to it, which is an opening window, and you actually have a much heavier profile to encompass the opening section. What this product is doing here is it's allowing you to have a uniform facade, so you don't have larger and thinner sections. You have one section around the whole house, which ultimately increases the amount of light that you're getting into each room. Because the profile isn't being used for the opening sections, it brings the price down a little. With regards to budget and price, I would say these guys are kind of in the middle. You know, they're using the timber on the outside and the aluminium on the outside and the timber on the inside, to create a natural thermal break. So they're not having to employ these technologies to stop the energy leaking inside and outside, because they're using two different products which work in unison to create that. So you get reduced external noise, you gain extra daylight. The security is more enhanced because you don't have external hinges and you only have internal handles. So, you know, this one's ticking a lot of boxes, but again, it's not for everybody. And aluminium on the outside doesn't fit into everybody's property. You know, if you want a nice traditional looking house, then this product wouldn't be suitable. But I've only given you a snapshot of one of the composite window products on the market. You know, there are lots of different types of composite windows that will give you the performance and the benefits that I'm describing here, but would also look like a traditional window. So the one I'm showing you here is from one of my brands. The other brand that we do produces a aluminium clad version of this product that looks very similar to the timber windows and the PVC windows that we were looking at earlier. So really, just to bring it all together for you, every product out there will tick one of your specification boxes. We found that composite tend to tick the most, but that's only because we've listed, you know, 10 or 15 what we consider to be important to you when you're specifying. Your project is bespoke to you, so it may be that the timber, the aluminium, or the UPVC actually tick more boxes for you within your situation. What I'm saying is, you know, there are the windows and door companies out there will produce a product for a certain visual or a certain performance. It's up to you to decide within yourself what is more important to you. Is it how it looks? Is it how it works? You know, is it the length? Is it the lack of having to clean it or having to maintain it? Am I living near a busy road, and can I buy a product that gives me noise reduction without having to buy enhanced glazing, for example? So, you know, do your homeschooling, look at lots of images. You know, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn and places like that are great for people who are giving their stories about how they've worked with companies. You know, Trustpilot, places like that are places you can go and research the actual company that you're buying from, because what is also important, not just specifying the windows that you want, but also working with a company that suits you. So research the company as well as the product is what I'm trying to say. So to bring you on to the next section, really, the jargon that we all talk about. I've been in the window industry for over 20 years. So, you know, we all talk in U values, G values, which can be quite confusing for an end user that is just embarking on this specification journey. So I'm just going to go through the main ones that you may see on quotations, or you may hear as Windows chaps talking about. So the first one is energy loss, which we talk about as U value. So the main thing to tell you about that is U value is the energy loss through a frame. So it's your energy performance, and the lower the number, the better performance you're getting. So the less energy that is leaking back out of the house. So it's not about how much energy you're gaining through those windows and doors. It's about how much, once you've generated it inside your building, how much is actually leaking back out to the outside. So how much money am I throwing down the drain, really? So U value is shown with a W/M2K, which is watts per meter squared. And the lower the number, the better the value that you're getting, the better the performance. So on the other side of that, on the other side of the window pane, we've got the G value. Now, the G value is how much energy you're gaining from that sun. So this is the free energy. So the U value is how much money am I throwing away? The G value is how much free stuff am I getting? Now, G value is a good thing and a bad thing sometimes. So sometimes you can generate too much heat. So the G value is there to show you how comfortable is it going to be when I've got all of the windows and door closed, I've got the sun beating into my house, how comfortable or uncomfortable is it going to be in that area. And with the higher the value, the more heat you're gaining from that sun. Then we move to light, the LT value. Now, just the easy way to describe that is light transmission. So how much light am I getting in from the outside? Now, you would think that, you know, it's a glazed unit, it's clear, so I'm getting all of the light. Not necessarily. Some of the reflective coatings and some of the internal laminations and things like that that are applied for security or for other reasons can sometimes diminish or reduce the amount of light that's actually coming through that glass unit. So it's a really good idea, if you are looking at other performance specifications, that you consider, is it reducing the amount of light that I'm getting through each glazed unit, and does that matter to me? Then we go to acoustics, and that is shown by an RW value, but the actual connotation is dB, so decibels, so it's counted in decibels. And with the RW value, what you need to consider is whether or not the company is telling you that the acoustic reduction, so it's how much noise is being reduced from outside to inside, and whether or not that is, we are talking about the glass unit, or whether or not we're talking about the whole product. So that would be frame including glass. So actually, when that window or door is closed, how much sound am I getting through? And with dB, it's the higher the number, the better the noise reduction that you're achieving there. So then to move on to safety glass. Now, safety glass just means it's safe in the event of breakage. So building regulations mean that you have to put safety glass in a number of particular locations. So next to doors, indoors, anything which is below 800 mil from the floor. So it's at risk of being kicked or something hitting against it for it to smash. But normally the standard is a toughened unit. Now, the toughened glass unit means that it's been heat treated, and when the unit smashes, it almost pops, and it pops into little nuggets, rather than you breaking a glass and it going into shards. So it's safety in the event of breakage, so that it won't slice. With regards to laminate glass, it's also a safety glass, meaning it's a safety glass, so it won't shard, it won't slice. And the way that laminate glazing does it is by having two panes of non-toughened glass, which are kind of glued together with a really thin piece of film. Now, what happens with a laminate glazing is once you get that impact to the glass, it's almost like your windscreen in your car if a bird was to fly at it at pace. You know, it smashes the windscreen, but it retains its integrity and the windscreen doesn't come through. So laminate glazing allows that. So once you have an impact on the glazing, you know, it will smash and it will shard, but the shards won't fall out. It will hold on to itself using this thin piece of film in the center that stops the glass coming out and cutting. So both are safety. Now, laminate can also be used as a security glass because it retains its integrity. So in a standard safety security layer, what we would do is you would put a layer of toughened glass on the outside layer, because as you know, double glazed units are made up with two single panes of glass. So the outside pane would be toughened and the inside pane would be laminate. Now, the outside pane, the reason that's toughened is because the burglar is going to try and smash through the window. When they hit the first pane, that toughened unit pops and it's loud. So first and foremost, you know, it's making the burglar aware we're making a noise here. So sometimes that's enough to make them step away. Then the second point of security is that when they try and get through that second pane of laminate glass, they can't get through because of that film and it's retaining its integrity. So laminate is also used not only as a safety glass, but a security glass. And then also the next thing that laminate gives you is, you know, it won't stop bleaching of furniture inside, but it does reduce slightly the bad UV rays that we get from the sun that do cause bleaching of carpets and curtains and things on the inside. But because it does that, it also reduces the light transmission slightly. So this is what I was talking about earlier with regards to, you know, finding the right glass for you. Maybe when you're specifying, it might take you down other routes that you know might affect other things, like how much solar gain you're getting or how much energy you're losing. So talking to the supplier about what's really, really important with regards to your glazing will do you much better in the long run. You'll keep your costs down and you'll get a product which is bespoke to your situation. You know, the things off the shelf don't always suit all, and it's not always about employing lots and lots more money to get the product that you want. Sometimes there are specific products out there that suit specific situations. For example, a triple glazed unit. will help you with your energy, won't necessarily help you with any sound. So it's a trade-off really, with regards to how much you want to pay for how much you're going to get really. So they are the main jargon points. You probably will come across more, but these are going to be the main ones, and I hope I've gone a little bit of the way to help you understand what they may be. So then to move on just to three, as I say, I've been in this industry for over 20 years, and it still amazes me the amount of times I hear strange facts, which are actually myths. So I like to bust them, just to give you a little bit more of an advantage when you're going out there and speaking to these hundreds and hundreds of suppliers that are telling you different things each day. So the first one, which is my favorite, is that triple glazing reduces external noise. Now, actually it does. But we'll go back to what we were talking about, which is decibels. Now, a double glazed unit generally gives a decibel reduction of around 32 decibel. Now, a triple glazed unit gives a reduction of 33 or 34 decibel. Now, our little ears, our human ears, can only pick up a decibel change of around 3 decibel. So actually, you will pay a lot more money for your triple glazing, but if your neighbour buys double glazing, they're hearing exactly the same as what you're hearing on the inside, but you'll be a little bit more comfortable in the winter. Triple glazing is for thermal properties, and people telling you to add triple glazing for anything other is either trying to get you to spend more money, or it's easier for them to supply the triple glazed unit than the double. So try and keep your costs down. If you don't need triple glazing for thermal efficiency, then you certainly will not need it for noise. The way that we deal with noise, I'll go back to the double glazed unit with the 2 panes. What we do is we want to dampen and then shock the sound wave. So 2 panes of glass, sound wave coming to the first pane of glass. What happens is we take this pane of glass out and we thicken it. So instead of a standard 4 mil pane of glass, you would thicken it to say 6 mil. What that does is as the sound wave travels towards the unit, it shocks, it kind of bumps up against the glass, which slows the sound wave down. Then what we do is we increase the size of the gap between the first pane of glass and the second pane of glass. That then continues to slow the wave down. Then when it hits against the last pane of glass, that's what gives you your sound reduction. Having 3 panes of glass that don't slow the wave down doesn't actually help the noise reduction. So my tip to you is triple glazing is for energy efficiency only. Then to follow on with that, while we're talking about triple glazing, you know, it's easy to throw everything in, including the kitchen sink, at something and hope that that gives you the best performance. But actually it doesn't always. Every project is bespoke. You know, every plot, every house is situated differently. It has a different orientation to where the sun hits it, when you're in the shade. You know, you might be lucky enough to have big mountains behind you where you don't get that sun when you're supposed to, or trees in the way so you don't get the sun. Or you've got a really nice glazed gable end, you know, and you want to bring all of that sun in. So triple glazing everything doesn't always work, because triple glazing will increase the amount of energy you store inside that building. Now, if you are lucky enough to have a beautiful gable end and it's south facing, you know, you don't want triple glazing beating and holding all of that solar gain that you're getting from that inside that room. So actually double glazing on that south side would be much, much better for you. It's better for your pocket, so it's a bit cheaper or less expensive. You're allowing the double glazed unit to drag in as much of that sun as it can, but you're not trapping more of it in that room. And then what you want to do is the areas in the house where you are losing a lot of the energy, so the north sides, the dark sides, the really cold sides of the house, which don't achieve much sunlight all year round, those are the places where you want to apply triple glazing, because your double glazed units will allow you to suck in all of this free energy, and then your triple glazed units actually stop it from leaking out of the cold areas. So actually a balance of double glazing and triple glazing may actually work better for your property. So actually triple glazing and throwing money at it might actually give you issues in other areas. So, you know, you don't want to make your south area rooms too warm, and triple glazing can sometimes do that. The last thing with...
I'm just going to give you a 3-minute warning. Thanks, Donna.
Yeah. I think this is the second from last one, so I think I'll be on time. The south-facing windows require solar control glazing to reduce the heat. So again, this is about throwing everything, all of your money at it and giving it the highest specification, thinking that that's going to give you the best performance. But actually, if I'm going back to this gable south facing again, you know, if you were to put solar control glazing in that screen, what you're doing is you're turning the sun off all year round. So you're reducing the light transmission because you're making the room grey on the inside. You're working against your triple glazing or your double glazing because it's not allowing you to pull that free sun energy in. And there's no point having triple glazed units because what you're doing is you're having to use all of your heating to create that heat in the first place because you're not allowing any of that natural light or any of the natural heat to come in. So solar control is a great product for reducing and turning the sun off, but it's not always great to be used all of the time, especially in a domestic application. So just consider, if you apply one technology somewhere, is it going to affect your performance and your enjoyability and the comfort of how these windows and doors are going to work for you in the future? And then the last slide is a couple of just little points with regards to what else you can consider. So we talked about on the timber slide about filling the glass to frame ratio, so filling up the holes with bars and things like that. My advice to you is the less vertical and horizontal splits you can make in a window, the better the glass ratio will be, therefore the better the U value, so the less that you will transfer all of that energy that you've just built up. The other one is looking at the relation to the sun, like I alluded to in the last slide. It's if you're getting lots of summer sun, then look at double glazing instead of triple glazing because you will gain it you'll gain it free. But also where the winter sun's going to come into the property. Think about the height of the windows. You know, do you want mullions in that window? Is that the area where you want to have one huge fixed window just to flood that area in the winter months when the sun's riding lower in the sky? And then another one is consider all the other works being carried out. So don't spend all of your money on super duper thermally efficient windows if you're not going to be doing any other insulation anywhere else, because what you're going to do is spend a lot of money on a really good product and then you're going to push all of that energy out of an uninsulated roof or walls. So really consider the balance of, if you're going to be insulating everywhere else, then great. If you're not, then is it worth paying for a premium product that you're not going to get the performance that you want because the other conditions aren't right? And then my last
We've just lost your sound there, Donna.
Yeah, I've just unmuted. Am I back on?
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
the last one I'm going to leave you with is installation methods. Companies research installation materials and methods because it fits better with their product and they know it works. So please listen to installation guidance, and if a company asks you to use a particular installation material, then ask the question why, and if you can, please follow it. One of the biggest issues I've seen in the industry over the last 10 to 20 years is when a builder says, I've got something just like that in my van, which is a fraction of the cost and it will do the job. Usually that's the case is when we have customers coming back to us and saying they've got issues. So trust the companies that you're working with, ask lots and lots of questions, you're in control. And if there are any other questions, as Harvey said earlier, you know, come and speak to me at Velfac or at Rationale, and one of us will be happy to take you through it. Thank you very much, guys. That's me done.
Brilliant, Donna. Thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation. Thank you. I'm aware that we're overrun slightly. That was my fault. Donna started late. That's my fault. So, Donna, have a look in the chat. You've had lots of praise for that presentation. I think people particularly appreciated understanding all the acronyms and the things that are involved in this sector. So it's very helpful. So thank you. So if I could ask, so Donna, if you could stop sharing your screen, please. And then if all the presenters can reveal themselves again, that'd be great. Amy, so just waiting for the team from Norskin. So brilliant. So that's everyone back. So thank you so much. I hope that you found that helpful at home, watching those helpful at home, watching those presentations. So Mike, I'm just going to go straight into the Q&A now. So I'm going to pitch your questions to Mike, and then Mike's going to give his take on it and discuss it with the panel. So I'll go straight into it. It's actually 2 questions in one, really, Mike. So Martin has asked, what is the best way to ensure quality control on installation? Do window companies assist with this? And along those lines, Neil's asked, what are the pros and cons of supply only and supply and install? So I think it's, if you're spending all this money on all of these fantastic products, what's the best way to ensure they're installed well?
Yeah, okay, good questions, Martin and Neil. I'll start with supply and fix issues on there. That's a well-trodden path on there. Obviously, you can make savings by just supplying the materials to yourself, but the installation is the lion's share of what's going to go on. If you don't get people who know what they're doing, fitting a particular product in the correct way, and I think Donna alluded to that in her last slide, actually. You know, there's the, oh, I know a way of doing this, don't worry, I've done it a million times. That's when the problems start, because it's not done to the manufacturer's specification. Supply and fit makes sense. Then the supplier is responsible for the warranty issues for the material itself and also the installation afterwards. The quality control element, I'm going to pass that down to the individual panelists there, because really there are British standards, there are guidelines, and there's the fencer stuff and all the rest of it. But they'll tell you the quality is very much varies from company to company. There's good guys, and there's the cheap fly-by-nights as well. And mostly you get what you pay for, I think, as a broad catch-all. But I'm going to go to Donna there and say, what would you say there about the specification and the quality control of the materials that you provide?
Yeah, you're right. It varies wildly depending on which type of company you're going for. I mean, what you would want to see really is that people are, they're ISO accredited, that they're testing their windows to BS standards. I work for a Danish originated company, so we have BS and EN standards. What I would do is, recently we've had the newest building regulation is Part Q. Window companies really need to be talked to about Part Q, whether that's relevant for your project. But I would say, speak to a consultant first about where you need to be with building regulations, and then refer that back to each of the window suppliers. You will see quite quickly the responses you get as to how involved they are with regards to quality and how they test their products. Most will give you test data, charts and reports.
Thank you. Alex, David, anything else you'd like to add on that as far as quality control and supply and install?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to find that most competent builders and joiners, carpenters, I mean, our product, much like Velfact, is a timber, aluminium. So if you're used to working with wood, you can fit a window probably fairly easily. It's about being comfortable with the material. Where the biggest challenges we see with installation are big items. So when you're joining units together, big gable screens where you've got to consider the wind deflection, big sliding doors. Some of the leaves on these doors are weighing 300, 400, 500 kilos in some cases. Handling that when you're not used to it is a nightmare for people. So we do see problems with that. So yeah, obviously if you've got a supply and fit contract, you'll have somebody that's managing that for you. And we do supply and fit, but we do supply only as well. So people can fit the windows and they stick to our fitting instructions, and that works as well. So we wouldn't say there's a preference one way or the other, but for sure you need somebody who knows what they're doing, and the handling can really get you into trouble. If you're handling big items and you go and drop one, you might have saved plenty of money on your project, and it's written off by bad handling. So that's the key area.
And I presume that if it's on a supply-only basis on that, then your responsibility ends with the delivery of that particular product. So if you've got a very expensive expanse of glass shattered, then you're going to have to buy another one.
Oh, absolutely, and it's for us running the business, supply and fit carries risk. We get sign off at the end when all your windows are in, and they've got to be perfect. Expectations these days from clients are very, very high. We're used to getting things spot on. I always say windows are one of the last finishes to go into a building site. So you've got, joinery grade wood going into a building site that can easily get damaged. You need to know what you're doing. So yeah, customers do like the idea of one contract. Of course, with VAT as well, they can get a 0 rated VAT contract. So that helps with cash flow. That's quite popular.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Amy, anything to add on that?
So we are a supply-only manufacturer. All of our roof lights go through each product goes through full quality checks before it leaves us. So nothing is done in batches in that sort of way. And everything is supplied with full installation guidance, and everyone in our sales team is fully trained technically to talk through installation with anybody who wants a full run through of what they need to do.
Interesting. One of your the other company, should I say, went to a training day with Velux, similar sort of almost. And the actual installation was remarkably simple. I mean, that would apply to all roof lights on there. So there wasn't a lot you could actually get wrong with fitting them. To be honest, it was very straightforward and very quick and easy to do. So I'd imagine it'd be the same with you guys. Gary, anything to say from Garage Doors side?
As a distributor of garage doors, we have a supply-only network, and we also have a supply and installation within the business. I think some of ours tends to be more around the electrical work, making sure that they have the it's all CE marked, the installation, declarations of performance, and all the rules and regulations that go with it. You can't just plug something into a socket anymore. You've got to make sure that it's all legal. And like any industry, you know, we have the problems certainly with component suppliers. People will buy certain bits and try to make their own garage door. Well, who's taking ownership?
Yeah.
It really is a difficult one, hence why we prefer the supply and installation of the product, and the training and the skill sets that go with that. It's got to be the way forward.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks very much. Harvey, another question, I think, yeah?
Yeah, so this is from Paul. He asked this a couple of times, so I wanted to make sure we covered it. So he's been talking to companies that offer both timber and aluclad style windows, and they have, so he hasn't said which companies, but they've suggested he might prefer to go with the timber option because of the exterior finish. So with modern paints, they're long lasting, whereas the aluminium may fade over time and it might be more difficult to repaint. And I just wanted to get particularly Velfac and Norsken's take on that so they can guide Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mentioned in my presentation there, you know, the beauty of having some of the aluclad on the outside, particularly in exposed areas, is it's wiped clean. You know, these coatings are so resilient these days, the powder coating and the like. Superb coverings on there. And somebody I also noticed on there mentioned, well, surely the internal wood is going to, you know, you're going to need to do some maintenance on the inside as well. I'd argue there's almost nil maintenance on the inside once it's been stained or painted the one time. Once it's inside the house, you know, it's just like having a piece of furniture. You know, you don't need to sort of stain that because it's not exposed to the elements in the same way, but the outside is. Anyway, let's speak to the experts on that. Donna, we'll go back to you about the impact, the timber or the aluclad option.
I mean, I'd say it was the other way round. I'd say that, you know, timber is the one that's going to tarnish over time externally and would need reworked, would definitely need maintained. And actually the aluminium, you know, 60 to 80 years it's not going to tarnish, even in exposed locations where you've got erosion for sand and things like that. You know, most companies out there are powder coating to 60, 80, 120 microns. So you've got 100 years worth of finish, even in an exposed location. So I would say it's the opposite way. You know, you need to consider the timber is going to tarnish, paint is going to flake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aluminium isn't.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got softwood timber windows in the house I'm speaking to you from, myself built, and I've got these cottage glazed bars. So I've got lots and lots of little bits of lamb's tongue grooving all over. And every 3 or 4 years, I'm up there with the ladders, and the novelty wears off with a little
I bet it does.
And the stain. So I often think it would have been better to have something a little bit more durable on there.
Exactly.
So Norsken, what do you reckon? Alex, David, what would you say in the same to the same question, the timber v aluclad?
Well, we obviously supply both, but I would agree with what you've both said, that the aluminium significantly extends the lifespan and reduces your interest in having to go to a Dulux centre every 5 years after 10 have gone by. I agree, paints have improved, but nevertheless, you will have to have a ladder and a kit to sort it out in time. If you want peace of mind and not to have to worry about that, then the Aluclad is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
And to add to that, I mean, I've got this experience firsthand because I moved house about 4 years ago and all the windows needed doing. So we stuck our own windows in and my wife wouldn't let me put Aluclad in, having spent all my working week convincing people why Aluclad is best. But we've got a traditional cottage down by the coast and it was a no-no. And they've been in for 5 years. And actually, interestingly, the paint is holding up fine. But what I am noticing is in a damp climate, which the UK has, our windows take on moisture when they come in, when they're manufactured on the continent, because our moisture levels are higher. So you get expansion in the timber, that can crack joints on the timber product. So you've got to pay attention to the joints and maybe clean those out and retouch those up. You don't get that problem with the Aluclad. The timber behind stays really well protected. And I think the question was, how difficult is it to repair? Well, you know, I won't lie, we fit Aluclad windows and from time to time on site, they get damaged. And we call out a repair specialist, much like you'd have on your car. If you dent your car, you take it to a body shop, you get it back, you wouldn't know that it's been damaged. So it's very easy to repair Aluclad and it's very easy to repair timber.
Absolutely. But as far as erosion goes, or natural damage from exposure to sunlight or the elements and what have you, Aluclad with 100 microns of stone and handling on it, it's going to last forever, isn't it?
It'll last a long time, yeah, correct.
I'd add one more thing, is that if you are looking at timber windows with regards to maintenance and performance, a lot of timber windows are actually including an aluminium glazing bead now. So the windows are housed around an aluminium glazing bead, and then the rest of the product is timber, because that's where we know most of the moisture is going to go. That's where you're going to get, I suppose, the cracks that you were alluding to there. That's where most of them happen. So the company that I work for provide a timber window with an aluminium glazing bead, which kind of counteracts that to give you a little bit longer lifespan out of the window.
I suppose that would also help, Donna, with the aesthetic thing. I mean, putting the aluminium faced windows into a period property or something with a rustic appeal, that sort of rustic aesthetic to it. You naturally opt for timber because it'll look of the correct period, but you've still got the benefits of the aluminium on the framework on there.
And it doesn't upset the planners either. You know, to the planners, you've got a timber window, but you're just taking a little bit of the Aluclad section, just the glazing bead, to give you the performance that you need from the timber.
Good stuff. Amy, Gary, have you anything to add on there?
Yeah, I think I agree with Donna. Certainly from a garage door point of view, customers are now looking for the garage door to match the windows and the entrance door. And we're seeing certainly a trend with RAL colours now. And aluminium, certainly on sectional garage doors and roller doors, being aluminium and powder coated. And we're also seeing a trend on foiled finishes as well. Especially more in wood grain colours as well. So I agree. It's with Donna entirely.
Okay.
I mean, that's one of the disadvantages of Aluclad, is that you don't have wood grain effects usually. You have to go to the PVC side to get the wood grain effect other than a timber. So they know that's a disadvantage of the Aluclad composite systems.
Okay, good point. Amy, anything to add?
No, nothing from me. None, we're not timber or Aluclad, so it's all steel and aluminium.
Okay, Harvey, fire away.
Great, thank you very much. So there were a couple of questions around sustainability and eco principles, and one of them was the future home standard that's going to come in. Every company that's presented this morning has mentioned kind of eco benefits and sustainability benefits of their products, and it's really just an open question as to what's your take on how your range of products is going to change as people's homes have to become more sustainable.
Well, that's I'm going to pass that straight down to the people who are going to have to meet the requirements. Yeah, the future home standard, building regulations have been catching up gradually with the way that we're trying to get houses to perform, and windows are one of the weakest areas for keeping heat in. So actually getting that thermal performance when we've got this dichotomy between wanting to have lots of glass and lots of light, and then also wanting to keep all the heat inside the house, you need that performance. So let's go to Alex and David to start with on this. How are you approaching the future home standard with your products?
Well, I suppose we were in a fairly fortunate position to start with, because triple glazing was a standard for us from the word go. And of course, in the UK, like all things, we're a bit slow on the Scandinavia, It's been the norm for a long time. So they have a colder climate, admittedly, but that's been something they're familiar with. So it's taken us a while to catch up. But I suppose if you've got a product that already hits the target or the future target, you're in a pretty good position to start with. But the truth is we don't know exactly. What we do know is that there's going to be a greater drive for economy and thermal performance of the whole house. So it stands to reason that the elements that go into that house need to perform as well as they can.
How do you think the whole future standard is going to impact on the UPVC market, which has been such a big part of UK windows for so long? But now, of course, we're looking at plastics and we're thinking, is this the most sustainable way to go? Are they upping their game, or are they likely to suffer as a result of this?
It's a very good question. Obviously, we're not in that market, but you're absolutely right when you say that in general, the public has taken a turn against plastic. And whilst it may have some advantages and durable and cheap and so forth, in general, people who are looking to build their own homes want something a little bit more special, something that's maybe not going to date or be seen as a bit passé. And there is a move towards more natural products because of their longevity and their natural beauty.
Okay, Donna, I'm going to pass on to you. Same sort of questions there. What's Velvac and Rationale doing with regard to the future home sustainability?
Well, with regards to eco and carbon footprint and things like that, our windows are 94% recyclable. So it pays to go for something which is green these days. With regards to longevity, you're not having to replace them, so they're not going back into the system. You can take aluminium sashes off and change colours, change functions, whilst the windows are in situ after 60 years if you want to. So they really are a product for life. Yeah. I would say that with regards to PVC, unfortunately, planners still won't allow aluminium in certain locations, and for people that are extending or refurbing, unfortunately, aluminium PVC is still the way they have to go. So alley clad companies are trying to copy the way that PVC windows look, so that you can get the performance of the alley clad window while still fitting in with the keeping of the street, if you like. So yes, we're working towards trying to look the part whilst given the performance. But I mean, with regards to the two brands that I represent, our U values are down at 0.8, and looking forward, business the standard in the UK is 1.6 to 1.8 at the moment. So we future-proofed ourselves for many years to come. So like Norskin, we're very lucky we come from a Scandinavian background where they were already looking at lower U values way before the UK were.
Absolutely. Amy, how are you dealing with this issue?
So we launched our first aluminium product, actually, which is the flat roof light, just over a year ago, and that has the best U values for a double glazed flat roof light on the market, actually, and that was in response to trying to have these future-proofed products, because previously we were steel, and there's more aluminium products to come, so that is the way forward to bring these U values down. And in terms of the eco side of it, we are already zero waste to landfill, so the products that you buy have no waste to landfill. The small amount we do have is incinerated, but we've actually got a project in place to become zero waste full stop by 2024.
Good stuff, promising, good, excellent stuff. Gary, last but not least.
I think from a garage door point of view, historically, garage doors have tended to be, I'm going to say, a distress purchase, certainly and now with GRP doors, which were very common in years gone by, we're seeing less and less of these sold now because of the recycling of them, that you just can't recycle them. So people now are looking more to aluminium doors, steel doors, and of the sectional doors and the roller doors that we sell, they're all CFC free, polyurethane foam filled. So and certainly as a company, we're looking at recycling and looking to promote products that are recyclable as best we can. But we're certainly seeing a real downward spiral on GRP and PVC garage doors.
It makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, the GRP, if it starts yellowing and you think you're going to...
Oh, well, yeah,
by putting in the quality from the outset. You've got something that
you can get the designs with GRP because it's a mold.
Yeah.
But you certainly, from a recycling point of view, no.
Okay. Good stuff. Okay, great answers there. Thank you, Harvey.
Great.
How are you doing?
So this is a relatively quick one. So there's a couple more questions. So this is from Zoe. Zoe's actually left us, but she's going to watch the recording back. She had to do some homeschooling, which I can feel her pain. But she just wants to, she has a question with the triple glaze, the gas that you mentioned, Mike, right at the beginning, actually, the gas in the argon gas in the triple glazed windows. What's the longevity of that? And can it be recharged or topped up?
I think the basic answer to that is that you can't make these things 100% gas proof, so they'll come with the gas in them, but over a long period of time, it's gradually going to disappear, and the effect will become less and less. I don't think they're actually made to that sort of level of gas tightness, to molecular level sort of stuff. But I stand to be disproved on that. So let's open it up. Donna, your gas-filled units. How long can we expect the inert gas to stay within the units?
Well, we're quite lucky because we factory glaze, so we do it in a protective atmosphere. So actually we're getting around 25 years out of our sealed units, even in exposed locations where you get a lot of rattle because of the wind, because they will move. But we're quite lucky that we do that. My bit of advice is the less that it's touched during production and installation, the longer it's going to last and the less it moves. So if you're in an exposed location, you've got high winds, bulk up that glazing to 6 mil on the front, it will move less, your gas will move less, it will last longer. That's it, really. That's very, very simple, Great.
I think Mike's frozen. So whilst Mike's frozen, Alex and David, have you got anything to add to that?
Well, actually, Donna explained that perfectly.
I've really got to nip off. I've got other meetings that I really have to be in to. So I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to leave you guys a couple of minutes early.
That's fine, Donna. Donna, thank you so much. Just to repeat, that the recording of this session will be made available to everyone, including everyone's contact details. So Donna, yes, we have slightly overrun, so thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
We'll let you disappear. So sorry, Alex and David, yes. Just anything to add on the triple glazed gas?
Yeah, Donna's explanation was pretty much spot on. The units on the whole should last a long time, but the biggest challenge you have is movement of the glass. So when you read the small print on one of our C's and C's, you'll find that the bigger those glass units are going, the more likely you've got of a failure. So big glass could last not as long. The small units will probably last longer. We don't generally see issues, but I'd be lying if I said we don't get the occasional failure and just has to be replaced under warranty.
Yeah, no, thank you. We seem to have lost Mike at the moment, so we've come almost to the end. So I'm just going to ask you one more question. So I'll ask the question. I'll give you a minute to think about it. So the final question is just, what is your one last piece of advice that you would give the 200 odd people that are watching this session, bearing in mind the theme of the day? And whilst you're thinking about that, your one final piece of advice, just to say thank you so much to everyone for watching. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you to Donna and to Gary and to Amy and to David and Alex. This has been recorded, so we send out that recording by probably the middle of next week. The next session starts just under an hour, actually, so at 2 o'clock, and that's on smart homes and home automation. That will be facilitated by my colleague, Katie Hardwick. Some of you will realise that she is related to Mike. She's actually Mike's daughter, and she's worked with me at the centre for a couple of years now. And a chap called Dave Hilton will be hosting that, and Dave runs our Heating Your Home course and various other courses, and works on a help desk as well. So I'm going to pick on Amy first of all. So Amy, what is your last piece of advice to give the attendees?
I would just say not to underestimate the benefit that top lighting can bring your project. Hopefully from the slides I showed, you could see that there are so many different types. So that usually means there's going to be a type that's suitable for your project. So yeah, make sure you factor in top lighting because it's really important.
Great, thank you very much, Amy. Gary?
I think from our point of view, there is an element of, from a garage door point of view, they can be, I want to say, a cottage industry. People can buy components and manufacture their own doors. So there is a trend or within the UK of this. So just be really careful, do your research. on sustainable companies, and just make sure that what's the old saying, it does what it says on the tin. Make sure that it's the right product for the right home.
Great, thank you very much, Gary. And David and Alex.
So I think there have been a lot of wise words and good guidance this morning. I think in terms of budget, we would encourage people to get the best quality that they can knowingly afford, but consider the quality as paramount.
Great. Well, thank you so much for giving up your time this morning. I really appreciate it. We've had some brilliant presentations and the feedback that we're getting through on the chat has been great. So thank you very much. Thank you to everyone watching at home. I hope you found that helpful. Our aim is that during this strange lockdown period, we try and help you progress your project. So hopefully this has played a part in that. As I said, you can have a look at our website to find more information about the presenters that have spoken today and all of our activities. And we've got 5 more of these half-day sessions coming up. So the next one starts, as I say, at 2 o'clock. That's on home automation and smart homes. You should have all received the links to join those sessions from Zoom, but go and have some lunch, go and have some refreshment in the meantime. Thank you very much, everyone, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you.